I'm starting the show off today with nothing. Very much like what happened yesterday. Nothing. Welcome to the program, the Bill Michaels Show. The old adage goes, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me for decades, I'm a freaking idiot. And I know many of you are rejoicing in that statement, but I will say this. I really, I don't know why, but I really expected something different out of the Green Bay Packers. I really, really did. And instead, I got silence, crickets. I got the old, we were in on every negotiation. But it just, it's like, okay, whatever. I don't believe it for a minute anymore. We're always in on it. We're making calls. The phones are ringing. I think it's a lot of political ads. Actually, that's what's the phones are ringing for. It's all those political ads, and it's buzzing, and we're getting all the Tony Evers stuff, and the Tim Michael stuff, and the Ron Johnson and Mandela and Mandela Barnes, and we're getting all of that. But the phones really aren't ringing. There's no. Packers didn't get anybody. And I can't say that I'm shocked because there's not a lot that shocks me, but the perpetuating lie is that we're happy with our room. No, you're not. If you are, you should all be fired and immediately file for unemployment. There's no way you're happy. There's no way. Not when everybody in the world is saying, you've got some issues. But maybe to the opposite side of the coin, you can say, well, you have so many issues that you didn't want to make a move. I can't fathom, for me, a downside to making a move if you can get controllable people. But this hanging on to draft choices like grim death when it's not panning out is the green and gold insanity lives on, for lack of a better term. Ben, how you doing today?
Well, I'm doing well for other reasons.
You're doing well because it was a shutout last night.
Man, it was a complete smattering, and it was a lot of fun. Packers-wise, I guess we are stupid collectively as a state for expecting more.
Right.
Because time tells us that those things just don't happen. And I have enjoyed a little bit the, we ran on that guy. Oh, yeah, that would have done it.
Right?
It's like they go to the David Stern school of try to save everyone's PR face after nothing gets done at the deadline.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I have a lot of mixed emotions because there's also an argument that maybe the roster isn't good enough with one more wide receiver or whatever, but the messaging being sent to the fan base and to the team, definitely not terrific.
I can say this, and I hate to do this, but one of the things we get credited for in this program is being real and not swallowing the green and gold Kool-Aid or the blue and gold Kool-Aid or whatever. Is this season is over. I hate to say it, but it's over. You're going to beat Detroit maybe once, maybe twice. But I can't picture any scenario in which you get to 10 wins. None. You're going to get your ass handed to you by the Cowboys. I went back and I got up this morning, and I got up a little bit late. I have to admit that. Had a good night last night. I told you when I got off the air yesterday, I was going down and back to Chicago. Kristen had a meeting with one of her clients in from California. So we went down to Chicago. And have you ever been to the Trump Tower down there?
I've been around it. I've been around Chicago a lot. I've not been to it.
Trump, so I'm not throwing the political in there. I'm just simply signifying the building. Man, what a beautiful place. And they have an incredible rooftop bar and restaurant and such down there. Oh my God, it was fantastic. I'd never been there before, but that's where her client wanted to go. And so we went down there last night, and so we had dinner with the bank president, and it was really cool. It was the bank president, her boss, the head of commercial lending, one of the lenders, the client, and Kristen and I, and another. They do a lot of commercial and property real estate. And oh my God, what a fantastic place, and the view. And it was so warm last night, so we actually got to walk around outside on that terrace that overlooks the river in downtown. It overlooks the Wrigley Building. It overlooks the old Chicago Trib Building. I mean, just what an incredibly beautiful place. I'd always seen the tower, but I'd never actually been in it. What a fantastic night last night. So anyway, so we went down there, but we came back. We didn't stay because I had to do the show today. She had to get back. And then tonight I got to do the huddle. And then from there, I got to get to lacrosse. So I didn't have time to come out of Chicago earlier today. So we ended up driving down and back last night. Got down there for dinner that was supposed to be at 7:30. Didn't really get underway because nobody eats in the city. Nobody eats until is it like that in Philadelphia where nobody goes to dinner until 9 o'clock at night?
Not really. No.
Yeah.
I'd say it's lively at normal hours as well.
We got there at about 6:30 last night, and there was, maybe 5 people in the whole place. And we had a couple of drinks, and because I drank early because I knew later I wasn't going to be drinking because I was driving back. So we got there about 6:30, and then dinner was supposed to be at 7:30, and the client didn't show up till about 8. But by 8 o'clock, there was like 2 tables that were sat, and then there was 7 of us. So we sat down to eat, and then by 9:30, the place was packed. Everybody coming to dinner at 9:30. It was weird. It's just a different vibe in the city. Anyway, it was a cool night. But I got back late last night. But I got up this morning. And I was watching on Good Morning Football. They were talking about the Cowboys and the Pollard and the running back situation and the whole thing. So it got me thinking. So I went over to my laptop and I started watching some of the Cowboy stuff over the last week. They're going to kill the Packers. They have as much firepower, if not more, than what Buffalo does. If Dak Prescott's right, they're going to kill the Packers. You tell me what the lowest of lows could possibly be in Wisconsin as a Packers fan. Not only, say, losing to the Jets, losing to the Commanders on the road, but how low is it going to be when you go to a Cowboys game at home? First of all, you're going to have a lot of Cowboys fans in the stands because people are already, the market is now flooded with Packers tickets. People going on the secondary market. So that's first. Secondly, it's going to have a ton of Packers fans, and you're going to get your ass whipped. And you're going to get embarrassed by Mike McCarthy. If that's not the lowest of the low, I don't know what is. And I don't mean to slight Mike. I'm just saying by the way everything went down, the fan base that wanted him out, the ownership that canned him still with more games to go in the season, which they had traditionally never done. There was just a lot of just angst, a lot of just anger in some way, shape, or form built up. And he's going to whip your ass. That defense is going to maul that offense. They got a really good secondary. Now, they're not as good against the run as, say, the Buffalo Bills were coming into this game because the Buffalo Bills were ranked number 1 in the National Football League against the run. But they're going to whip your ass. And if that doesn't give you the lowest of the low, I don't know what will. At that point in time, that isn't even therapy anymore. That isn't even this show doing therapy. It is. I couldn't even tell you. And Pac fan says Allen's 10 times the thing Dak is. I get that. I never said he wasn't, but I agree with you. But even if, what my point is that they can run the ball at will. Packers don't stop the run. If Dak is on and can throw the ball and keep the defense honest, they'll score 35 with the run game they have. At what point do you just, that's why I'm like, when I woke up today, I left here yesterday, got off the air, and I really thought to myself, maybe it was like fooling yourself, But I really thought I was going to get off the air and I was going to start getting ready to head down to Chicago, and my phone was going to buzz and there was going to be an update and said Packers trade for such and such. I was waiting for it. And maybe it was more green and gold hope, okay, because I'm a fan too. Maybe it was more green and gold hope. But and nothing happened. And so I'm driving to Chicago. I'm listening to the national shows saying they don't get it. How can the Packers feel that this is a good room? How can the Packers just do nothing in the last few years of Aaron Rodgers' career? Then the conspiracy theories really begin to circulate. Well, the Packers just want him to retire. They want him to go away. They want to eat next season and just move on from Aaron Rodgers. They want him out. They're tired of him. And then there's that conspiracy theory, which I'm not even finding that far-fetched anymore. I mean, I don't necessarily believe it, but I don't really know. I have no idea. Matt LaFleur calling trades silly. You know, I'm thinking you just got beat by some of these teams that are making trades. They're trying to get better. They're whipping your ass, and you're calling them silly trades? For what? They're going for it. You're not. You got a predictable offense. You just now discovered how to run the football after fans have been screaming at you for weeks on end. You got a defense that was supposed to be better, that couldn't stop the run if they had to, that plays 10 yards back on 3rd and 6. Whoever calls that play is a moron. And yet you want to tell everybody else they're silly? I was flabbergasted. I don't get it. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. By the way, some of the breaking news today is that the Commanders announced that Tanya and Dan Snyder have hired Bank of America to explore the sale of the franchise. Now, they're going to make this look like Daniel Snyder just is throwing his arms in the air and he's like, okay, I'm just going to get rid of it. It's too much of a headache. It's a pain in the ass. When in reality, behind closed doors, they're like, you want dirt on us? We will unleash every piece of hell we can possibly fire upon you. That's what this smells like. You want to talk about conspiracy theory? That's this. Daniel Snyder was hanging onto that franchise. Remember, he was hanging onto the name like Grim Death. Now he was hanging onto that franchise. Don't F with me. I'll blow you up. I got your dirt. Anything he could fire off, right, was being reported. And now all of a sudden, I'm just tired of it. It's just such a headache. Let's just sell it and ride off into the sunset and get rid of all of our problems and just no. The NFL is like 32 mafia families. You don't go against the families. So Daniel Snyder, in his mealy mouth, shooting off his grill way, pissed off enough people behind closed doors to where they said, hey, Roger, let him know we got this. Let him know we have this. Let him know we'll file charges here. Let him know we'll unleash this fury. And I'm sure Roger Goodell, and at one point in time, and I got to think Goodell has taken this over, there was a Time article, and I think it was Time magazine years ago that said the most powerful person in the country, now this goes back to, I think, mid-2000s, early 2000s, was Bud Selig. Because the amount of money that baseball was pulling in, the ability to get baseball onto Capitol Hill, the ability to garner the attention of many different subcommittees on Capitol Hill, and the power of baseball within the country. He was considered the most powerful man in the country at the time. I got to think, since we've seen the flip-flop, football has well overtaken baseball in popularity, well overtaken baseball in money. Now, internationally, I got to think, much like Bud Selig, even more so, that Roger Goodell has his own mafia army of diggers and investigators and Secret Service type of people around him, that he has taken a deep dive into Daniel Snyder and said, Daniel, let me give you a call. You got 5 minutes? Okay. Here's what I got on you. You want to unleash fury? That's fine. You can talk about a few scandals, a few guys having sex with women, whatever you want to talk about. We're skimming here. We're kind of screwing the people here, whatever. Okay. But you want to do this? We will unleash this. And Daniel Snyder went, it's probably a headache to be owning an NFL franchise. I just don't want it anymore. That's what happened. Make no mistake about it. That's what happened. Guarantee. You don't threaten the mafia families of the NFL and they just go, ooh, Daniel Snyder. Ooh, he's on an island. He's going to get me. That ain't happening. So Dan and Tanya Snyder and the Washington Commanders announced today that they have hired the Bank of America Securities, and they're going to consider the potential transaction and sale of the Washington Commanders. Yeah, he got a phone call. He got a phone call from somebody. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Want to hit us up too. So, hey, coming up tonight, we are going to be on the road again. We're down at the Mecca. Tonight is a cool night. We're going to be at the Mecca for the Huddle tonight, brought to you by Bud Light, and we're going to be there. Got a Bucks game tonight. So down in the Deer District, come on by and say hello. Get a little football chatter before the game. Game starts, I think, at 7 o'clock tonight. We're down there at 6 to 8 tonight. So come on into the Mecca, do a little pre-gaming, hang out with us for a while, then head on over to the Fiserv Forum and grab yourself some Bucks and Pistons basketball. Good stuff tonight. It's all brought to you by our friends at Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the Bill Michaels Sports Talk Network.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back to the program. Bill Michaels Show. We continue on. Good to have you. Want to remind you that it's, today's going to be 72 degrees out. at least where I live. I don't know where it is, what it is where you're at, but still, riding season, hanging on like grim death. When you talk about motorcycle riding, all you got to do is get a hold of our friends over there, Wisconsin Harley Davidson. Go to wishd.com, whether it's motor clothes for the fall, maybe for the riding season, gifts for the holiday season, whatever it may be. I know it doesn't feel like the holidays right now, I'll tell you that. But they're coming fast and furious. We're into November. I can't believe it. November 2nd. Go to wishd.com. And if you haven't done it yet and you're still looking for a place to winterize your bike and to get it serviced and all ready to go for next year, yeah, there you go. Go to wishd.com. Highway 67 in Oconomowoc, just south of 94. You can't miss it. The big bar and shield right there above the highway. Again, wishd.com. That is wishd.com. Let's get to the phone calls. Let's go to Sean listening to us in Neenah. Sean, how you doing today, man? What's going on?
Hey, Bill. Thanks for taking a call. Love the show. And
Appreciate it.
The bike out in the next hour, so gotta.
There you go.
Enjoy the weather. Yeah, I'm really, I'm a Laker Packer fan here. I had a chance to get to Titletown a couple weeks ago. First time I was there. It's a crazy. It's over the top what they're doing up there. It's awesome. Now, I don't know how much public money's going into that. But the Packers owe the fan base, something. Again, they're not doing anything. Listening to you guys up here in WDUZ, there's a caller that called in and said, the Packers have won two Super Bowls in the last 30 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
With two first-time ballot quarterbacks. But they've been to like 35, 40% of that time in the last 25 years. They've been to the NFC Championship game 9 times in 25 years. That's a pretty good number, but you can't get over the hump. And every time I listen to Floor Talk, it's like a Charlie Brown, cartoon with the teacher going, wah, 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 wah. It's
Right.
like, can't we do something? I'm so tired of what's going on up there, And this fan base expects a lot, and we should expect more out of this team, and they need to give us some answers. I'm really frustrated. I'm telling you, I'll always be a Packer fan, but my level of commitment to that team is just waning. Honestly, you look at the stat sheet from the game Sunday night. I know they lost the game and they were really never in the game, but now the running game shows up. Statistically, you have those stats with Josh Allen throwing 2 picks, and they own the stat sheet, but they lost the damn game.
Yeah.
I thought for sure they get blown out. I was actually hoping for a blowout. It's just really frustrating. This management and this coaching staff is, what are you doing? Bears are making moves. The Vikings.
Right.
The Vikings look like they're all in. It's like, what the heck? I appreciate the call, man. Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much. I get it. It has been the sentiment really over the last 24 hours specifically. But over the last couple of weeks, it has grown in that direction. It is now I will give you the green and gold out of the ivory tower speech. We did spend money. We spent money on David Bakhtiari prior to the injury. He was with the best left tackle in football. We did spend money on keeping the quarterback and restructuring all of these contracts. We have kept players here. We did pay Jair Alexander to be one of the highest paid corners in the National Football League, and yet we'll only play him in zone. We did pay Kenny Clark. We are going to pay Elton Jenkins. We are, they're going to go through that whole laundry list. And oh, by the way, we're paying on average $50 million a year to the quarterback who said it wasn't $50 million a year. So we are doing all of this. We are spending money. We are one of the best teams in football. We are the storied franchise. By the way, we're putting Jordy Nelson and Josh Sitton into the Packers Hall of Fame. Did you hear about that? Yeah, we're going to do all of those things. We've done all of those things. As far as owing the fans anything, that's up to the fans. I don't ever tell anybody where to spend your money. If maybe it's a 1-year blip on the radar. My argument is, if this was any other normal year, I would say, I get it. I don't think the team is just one player away, but one player could certainly help. It can't hurt, especially if it's a controllable player. In a normal year, I would say, I understand not making a move, but I would have gotten maybe a wide receiver because you believe you're pretty good. But when you're coming down to the end of Aaron Rodgers, there is no tomorrow, man. This is just another year wasted, another year sitting on your hands, another year doing nothing. It's part of the mess that you created. It's part of the mess that Rodgers created. It's part of the mess that Devontae created. It's part of the mess generally. So I understand there's a lot of finger pointing that you can just throw a dart at a dartboard and somebody would be at fault for some particular reason. I get it. It's an incredibly complex situation, and we make light of it, but we make light of it because it's the same old, same old. It's just, you're never going to go all in. You're never going for it. And don't tell me, well, we've spent more money than we've ever spent, and we've done this and we've done, but you know, it does it feel, I would ask myself as a fan sitting here, I would say, does it feel like my franchise is going all in? Does it feel like my franchise is trying to win? Or are they just trying to do what's popularly right to make more money off of me? I don't know what my franchise is doing. And for the first time in a long time, I would probably have to say that the status quo, they looked you in the eye at the trade deadline and said, we're in on everything. We're calling, but we're really not going to do anything. Every other franchise in the National Football League is doing what they have to do. The Packers are different. They're different because of the end of the career of Aaron Rodgers. It's on the horizon. It's coming. You can see the light. It's heading down the track at you right now. And whether it hits you in the face at the end of this season or next season or the year after, that's it. Don't tell me about developing a guy in the next 3 to 4 years on a rookie deal. I don't care, because by then Rodgers is gone. So just when all of that talent that you're going to cultivate comes to fruition, the engine of your car is gone. It is a quarterback-driven league, and you've got a Hall of Fame quarterback who can still wing it. Has he made some bad throws this year? Absolutely. Does he look like the MVP from last year? No, he doesn't. Okay, I understand all that. But he's still better than the top 10% of the league. He's still top 10, top 12 in the league. And that's with the wide receiving core that really isn't much. And you're going to look me in the eye and go, well, we're doing everything. No, you're not. No, you're not. What you did, and I give Goody and Russ Ball a lot of credit, because they kicked the can down the road for a lot of contracts. They were able to cut a lot of that money, restructure it, put it into a system in which they were way over the salary cap. They did a magnificent job. So give credit where credit is due. But not making that extra deal, not giving the pick. This isn't a money thing. This is about a pick, an unsubstantiated pick. So next year, whatever pick that is at number 2, whatever you get, you had better hope to God that number 2 and number 5 or 6 or 7 work out, and they are the real deal. Because if they are not, you just held on to air. You wouldn't go after that guy because of the future of these 2 guys. And if these 2 guys don't pan out, then the here and the now, you pissed away. That's exactly what you did. 877-867-1670. You want to hit us up, do so. Marty says it's just unfortunate. ESPN Steve says the Packers did exactly what you said they should do. They hand Aaron Rodgers a blank check for him, put the dollar amount, knowing that the more he takes, the less there is for anybody else. There is no cap room because of Aaron. And now you are upset at management for doing what you said to do. No, they still got the ability to add somebody, Steve. That's not true. They still got the ability to add somebody. Whether it's this year or next year, there's a sense of urgency. They could have gotten Claypool. They could have. You can work anybody into a deal. It's just a matter of how much money you want to kind of shovel around. They've proven that. And, oh, by the way, I did not absolve Aaron Rodgers of this mess. Did I? I don't think so. I don't think so. Aaron Rodgers is as much a part of this mess and as much responsible for this mess as anybody. As anybody. He waffled, he wavered, he wasn't sure what he wanted to do. And in the meantime, you got Devontae over here who's kind of waiting in the wings. The organization can't talk to him about a negotiation because they don't know what they have. Rodgers says it's not $50 million a year. He was emphatic about that. Remember that on the Pat McAfee show? What a liar. Jeez. And by the way, it's a 3-year, $150 million deal. Let's see. Let's do the math here. 3 divided by 150. 50. Yeah, that's $50 million a year. So don't hand me that crap. But they still have the ability to move money around. By the way, the OBJ thing ain't going to happen. OBJ doesn't want to come here. OBJ wants to go someplace warm. OBJ, when he's healthy and can pass a physical, most likely going to end up back with the Rams. There's even been some talk about him possibly going south down to Tampa Bay. Now, I read, where did I read that? Was it in Bleacher Report or something like that? So, but I don't think that's happening. He's not coming here unless they would pay him a gob amount of money, and they only have $7.5 million under the cap available. They can't afford him. He was wanting, I think, 10 or 12 million bucks, and he wants a longer term deal, I think, to come back too. 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, please feel free to go ahead and do so. So it would not. It's not completely out of the realm of possibility, but I just think the likelihood of OBJ ending up in Green Bay is probably extremely few and far between. When we come back, we'll get to Bob, and there's Fred, and the cast of thousands that are on hold. Got some emails I want to get to. A lot of people chiming in on this today, and yesterday was crickets coming out of the temple that is Lambeau Field. This portion of the program brought to you by our good friends over there at Sunset Grill Pewaukee. Not this week, but next week. Next Wednesday night, we're going to be there for the huddle. So if you're going to make some plans and you're out in the Pewaukee area next week, come on by the Sunset Grill, 6 to 8 next Wednesday night. Next Wednesday night, we're going to be there. Looking forward to that. Watch the sunset there with the docks and the water and everything right off into the horizon there. Some good food. Check out some games. Maybe can't even look at the schedule to see what games are going to be on, but nevertheless, we're going to be out there next Wednesday night for the huddle. Looking forward to that. And that Sunset Grill in Pewaukee. Stay tuned. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up right after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Life's about taking the road less traveled, and doing it in style, well, that makes it even better. Take the Tahoe. This November, Potawatomi is giving away not one, but 2 Chevy Tahoes. Just play with your club card and you could win a brand new Chevy Tahoe or your share of over $400,000 in cash and prizes. Your win is waiting. Take the Tahoe. Only at Potawatomi. Visit paysbig.com/Tahoe for more. Must be 21 years old and a club member to play.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
They were definitely in on Chase Claypool. My understanding is that, so of course we know he went for a second-round pick. He went for Chicago's second-round pick, which theoretically, who knows, but theoretically should be earlier in the draft than the Green Bay Packers second-round pick. The Packers were, I'm told, willing to part with that second-round pick for Claypool, but, you know, what can you really do? The Pittsburgh Steelers chose the other one. So they were in on that. I know there were several receivers they took a look at, and there were several receivers available, including Brandon Cooks, but just contractually, that one was brutal, $18 million, fully guaranteed. The next year, no team obviously wanted to take that on, so it's not just the Packers, it's really no team. So the Packers end up doing a lot of work, making a ton of calls, trying to get a playmaker, and end up holding with what they have. It is what it is. We will see.
There you go. Ian Rappaport made a lot of calls. Phone was working. Couldn't get Brandon Cooks. Too much money to the quarterback. It's what happens. And we've talked about this for a long time, that when you get some of these quarterbacks, like a Patrick Mahomes early, you look like like Hurts. You got a lot of young quarterbacks that if you can win with them early on before they get the big money, you've got something, man, if they're that good. Because once you get a quarterback that starts making a ton of money, don't get me wrong, they deserve it, but quarterbacks have to at some point do the Tom Brady thing and make the choice. Is it the less, do I take a couple of extra $1 million less and give that to another guy that can help us get to a championship, or just take all the money and put my head on my pillow of money at night? And, there you go. Once you're locked into those big numbers, man, not much you can do. And, I give the Packers credit because they did keep Bakhtiari when he was healthy. They have paid money to certain players. You look at a guy like Jair and company, you start to get, even Aaron Jones. And that's a whole question mark going into next season as well. What your running back situation is going to look like, and whether or not, Aaron Jones is going to be here or not because of the contract going into next season. So I give them credit because they have put their money where their mouth is. It's just always that one more move that gives you the hope, that gives them hope, the fan base hope, that you can say, yeah, we went all in. We did it. And so it just always feels like we're coming up a player or two short, doesn't it? For a game in which the cliche is you're only as good as your weakest link, not to shore up your weakest link on a consistent basis is unfathomable. It just is. Let's go to Bob listening to us in Green Bay. Bob, welcome to the program, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. Hey, thanks for the line this morning. I appreciate it.
You bet.
Say, Bill, you know, I've been listening to your show for quite some time, but more so this past week since the loss at Buffalo. I want you to discuss this perhaps with your audience, if you want to give it some time, is the behind the scenes that we're talking about a wide receiver, and that's the most frontal thing, just like the product on the field. This is what you see on Sundays, so it's obvious we're going to talk about that. Look, I'm old enough to remember the 70s and 80s. I was around then. You know, I remember the Judge running the Packers, where was the face of, you know, CEO or whatever you want to call it, the president. And then Tom Bratz when he was the GM and so on. And I remember the dysfunction with that. And thank goodness, you know, Bob Harlan came and straightened it all out. I know I've heard a couple of your callers over the past few days mention this, but I think it bears a little more fleshing out. It's this management structure with Murphy. I'm not going to get into the personality. You know, I don't like this guy, whatever. But when you got Ball, LaFleur, and Gutekunst all answering to that guy, that's, to me, where the problem is. When Bob Harlan, and I'm not going to wax poetic, you know, back in my day,
right,
I'm not going to play that game. But what I am going to say is when Bob Harlan was running that show, one of the first things he did was to break out. He hired Ron Wolf, and he essentially told Ron back then, Wolf, he said, you know what? I don't really know anything about football. You're that guy, and I'm going to let you go out and do your job.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what
Right.
Bob Harlan did. He goes, I'm good at glad handing and making sure that I'm raising, funds and doing this and that for stadium improvement. Bob Harlan knew that, and he hired the guy to do that. You don't have that here. You've got Mark Murphy, former player, probably thinks he knows a heck of a lot more than he actually does about the administrative side of this. And when you have too many cooks sitting there, you know, trying to play chef, this is a kind of dysfunction. We see on Sunday what I think, and you brought this up the other day, and this is where it really kind of tripped for me, was you brought this up. You said, something's going on here, and you can't put my finger on it.
Right.
And I actually said out loud in the car, I said, Bill, you know why you can't put your finger on it? Because it's multi-layered here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can actually point at one segment of the team, whether it's the coaching, whether it's the wide receiver, whether it's the salaries. You can't point at it and say, aha, this is the reason why it is. I think it's a collective mess behind the scenes. Someday somebody will write a book about this. You know, I don't know what kind of twisted deal is going on between the quarterback and the coach and the GM and the CEO. I don't know, but this would probably make a great movie. But looking at all of that, Bill, I just want you to discuss about what you think the possibilities are. If I'm even remotely right, I don't know how you, other than getting somebody on the board of directors, and that's another layer. You know, we talk about why did you give Rodgers $50 million? For all I know, somebody influential on the board said, I like that guy. I really have no idea.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's something to be considered. And I'm going to get off the air, and I'm going to let you talk about that.
No,
okay?
I appreciate it. It opens up a whole different discussion. I appreciate it. Let's do this. Great call. And I want to get into that when we come back because I got to get to a break. I'll talk about that when we come back. And I'll give you my thoughts on it. And there's a lot of layers to that, but I agree with some of what he had to say. But I'll tell you why and what I specifically agree with, okay, when we return. This portion of the program brought to you by the Milwaukee Admirals. You're looking for hockey tickets, they got them. You're looking for events, they got them. You're looking for promos, they've got them. Concerts, they got them. Party atmosphere, oh, they got it. That's MilwaukeeAdmirals.com, MilwaukeeAdmirals.com. We'll be right back.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Cool weather, brisk winds, and a hot deal. Hi, this is Gina Della from Pella. Is your home ready for winter weather? Don't wait. Right now, put no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 2 years. When it's cold outside, thanks to Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, you'll be warm and toasty inside. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin can be installed in as little as a day, with little to no disruption to your family or your home. Plus, you'll get expert advice from our Pella specialists, professional installation by Pella's certified installers, and the excellent service our customers have come to expect. And Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin has products and warranty offers you won't find anywhere else. Don't wait for the heating bills to start piling up. Right now, put no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 2 years at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Visit PellaWI.com today.
Expires 11/30/2022. Certain exclusions and restrictions apply. See showroom for details.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, in Green Bay, here's Mike Clemens.
The NFL trade deadline passed with no deals for the Packers. Steelers wide receiver Chase Claypool went to the Bears, although a number of networks say that Green Bay did offer as high as a second-round pick. The Packers play the Lions in Detroit Sunday at 3-5. Aaron Rodgers says they can still turn things around.
There's a lot of teams in that 4-4, 3-5 range. You still have 9 games left. There's a lot to play for. Obviously, this is an important stretch for us coming up because we got a division opponent, and then we have 2 games in a week with Dallas, who's obviously playing well, and then Tennessee is playing well. Both games at home, which is great. But, it's November football now. The weather's continuing to turn, and we need to be playing our best football moving forward.
Rogers on the McAfee show. Jair Alexander asked, did he ever imagine the Packers would have a 4-game losing streak at this point of the season, and can they overcome it?
Honestly, in this league, everything happens so fast, so you really got to push it to the back. You really got to be critical of yourself and then on to the next game. That's what I'm going to do.
Is it surprising to you, though, that you guys have 4 straight losses and haven't been able to
Yeah, it is surprising. I feel like we got really good team, really good defense. So, yeah, it is surprising.
There's been some reports of some of the Packers players complaining about the defensive game plan during the stretch. Head coach Matt LaFleur.
It's impossible to please everybody. Everybody has their own opinions, their own ideas. It's like anything else in life. You have to get the staff on the same page first and foremost, making sure that everybody is confident in the plan, and then you teach it to the players.
That's Packers head coach Matt LaFleur. In Green Bay, I'm Mike Clemens on the Bill Michaels Show.
Welcome back. Good to have you. Hey, don't forget about our friends over at the Social House, Haus, on Lisbon Road in Menominee Falls. Maybe stopping in there early this Sunday prior to the Packers game. Going to go in there, get a Bloody Mary, get free pancakes when you do. Get yourself all ready and layered up, so to speak, pregame wise for the game this weekend as the Packers go to Detroit. But you can catch it over there at the Social House, Lisbon Road in Menominee Falls. There's so much today that I want to get to. That comment that you just heard with Matt LaFleur coming back, I almost fell out of my seat when I heard that. So I'll get into that. Okay. So prior to us going to break, Bob called us from Green Bay and he talked about the front office structure. And I said earlier, there's something just wrong. You got a talented roster. We believe it is. We just believe it is. You got a talented roster. And we know that it's lacking in the wide receiving department. There's, we're not breaking news here. But you got a talented roster. You came in with what you thought was going to be an upgraded roster short of the wide receiver position. You were going to get some players back from injury. You had a couple of guys that you signed. You brought in a couple of additional players to add depth. And everything was supposed to be right. There was something innately wrong that you just can't put your finger on. There's just sometimes things are going wrong, and when they're wrong, everybody tries to do their own thing, and you try to work really hard or harder, and it's like you're running in quicksand. The more you work, the more you struggle, the faster you sink, and that's kind of what it feels like. Now, when he talks about Mark Murphy and brings up the Bob Harlan scenario, Bob Harlan came in and said we need to do something different, right? Hired Ron Wolf. And Bob in Green Bay is correct. Hired Ron Wolf and got the hell out of the way, right? That's what they did. So he gets out of the way. Ron Wolf does his thing with Mike Holmgren. They bring in Reggie White. They bring in Brett Favre. They bring in all the pieces. And they go off and they win a Super Bowl and they get to another one. Correct? We can all agree upon that? And Bob had always said, just stay out of the way. Mark comes in after taking over for Bob. And when you talk about Ted Thompson, people can't believe that Mark wasn't involved, that Mark didn't, call Ted on the carpet and get upset with the antics of Ted Thompson by segregating himself from everyone else and creating the silos, if you will, that we've heard used time and again inside the walls of 1265, and the disconnect between the general manager, the coach, and the quarterback, and people blamed Mark Murphy for that. When in essence, Mark Murphy did exactly what Bob Harlan said, is hire these people, get out of the way. And Mark went off to make money, and he's done a tremendous job at making money for the Green Bay Packers, right? But you can't fault him for doing what Bob did and then turn around and say, well, it's your fault because you weren't involved. Now, you fast forward. Now it's his team. Ted's gone. Goody's hired. We're not going to have the silos anymore. We're not going to have guys segregating themselves. We have to work together as a team. We got to be on the same page. So everybody's going to get together with me and we're going to talk. It's not that Mark has all this decision-making power when it comes to, I'm going to be involved in player personnel. It's just, I want to know what's going on, because we don't want to create a situation again in which doors are closed, deals are going down behind closed doors. Mike McCarthy's finding out about players being dealt, signed, or traded at the podium from us because news is broke, and he's down in his office working on a game plan, and he doesn't even know what the hell's going on because the general manager doesn't want to talk to him. He doesn't want that anymore. So now he wants everybody to report to him. And report might even be a strong word, okay? It might just be, we're all going to get together, just kind of go over our weekly gathering. You know, what's going on here? What's going on there? How are we doing monetarily? How are we doing here? What's going on with the pulse of the team? I want to know. I want to keep my finger on the pulse. And he gets blamed for that. Now, is there a problem in Green Bay? Absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. I will not deny that. But I'm not going to lay this all right there at management, upper management. I think what Bob said is there's layers to this. That I would agree with. I think at some point, do you want Mark Murphy involved in decision-making process? You either do or you don't. If you want Murphy to go down and say, you got to spend the money, you got to go out and get a guy, you got to help this team, that means he's involved in it. If you want him to stay out of it, you got to have him stay completely out of it. You can't pick and choose times to be pissed. But I will say, in going back to Bob, which was an excellent call, by the way, there is something innately wrong. It's like they've thrown the playbook out the window, and the comment that Matt LaFleur made coming into this segment, and we're going to talk with Mark Schofield first and foremost coming up here after the top of the hour, but then I want to get back into this because that comment stuck out so widely to me. I think it's amazing. And I think it should carry more weight than maybe it's being given. So I want to talk about it when we come back. Stay tuned. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. 3 hours yet to go. We'll be back right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Green Bay Packers watched the NFL's trade deadline come and go yesterday afternoon without making a move to try and bolster their roster as they sit at 3-5 on the year. The Packers were reportedly in the mix for a number of players, but no deal ever came. The most notable name was wide receiver Chase Claypool, who ended up going from the Pittsburgh Steelers to the Chicago Bears for a 2023 second-round pick. Also adding in the NFC North would be Packers rivals the Minnesota Vikings. They acquired tight end TJ Hawkinson from Detroit for second and third-round draft picks. Up next for the Packers, they'll travel to Detroit on Sunday to take on the Lions at Ford Field. Wisconsin football is off their bye, and they have the Maryland Terrapins coming to Camp Randall this Saturday. Interim head coach Jim Leonard was asked if he was given the head coaching job, would he be capable?
I know I'm capable of it. I would be excited for the opportunity. It's fun to get the chance to really affect some change this season and see what we can get done, knowing that a lot of the big changes that would have to happen are really coming after the season if I were to get this position. So it's been an exciting opportunity for me, and hopefully we finish this season out the right way and things take care of itself.
Kickoff is Saturday at 11 o'clock.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
All business owners want the same thing, to make their business succeed. At Rural Mutual, they help that happen. As the third largest writer of commercial business in Wisconsin, they take the time to learn your business so they can properly protect you. Call your local agent today or visit ruralmutual.com.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
The Milwaukee Bucks look to remain unbeaten and move to 7-0 on the year as they welcome in the Detroit Pistons back to the Pfizer Forum tonight for a 7 o'clock tip. And finally, we're less than a week away from the Wisconsin men's basketball team having their first game when they welcome in South Dakota to the Kohl Center on November 7th. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
Welcome back. Good to have you. Those of you listening to us in WKTY in La Crosse, Eau Claire, our friends in Marshfield, Rice Lake, Menominee, Marinette, Shawano, Clintonville. Our friends at WDUZ, the mighty radio station up in Green Bay. It blasts anywhere and everywhere continuously. Good to have them on board. Our friends in Platteville, all over the great state of Wisconsin and well beyond the borders. We bring in now Mark Schofield from SB Nation joining us on the hotline. Mark, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Bill. How are you today?
I'm good. Let's start with, first and foremost, were you surprised, shocked, disappointed, angered? Because Packers fan base is up in arms that the Packers did nothing to help themselves at the trade deadline.
I mean, I was surprised that they didn't make a move. I mean, we've seen the report and heard the report that they were in on sort of the Chase Claypool trade that eventually went down with the Chicago Bears. Eventually, the Bears put a more favorable offer in front of the Steelers, with their own second-round pick. And the report out today said that Steelers believe that, look, that second-round pick from Chicago, it's going to be earlier than the one Green Bay offered. And so I guess they decided at the end that, they weren't going to, in their mind, overpay for a wide receiver. I'm surprised that, I thought maybe a Brandon Cooks move or, maybe even a DJ Moore kind of move might have been in the making, but those never seemed to materialize. I guess Cooks came close to the Cowboys at one point, according to some of the reporting that's out there. So, I'm surprised that a move did not get done. I think ultimately, though, if you take a step back, you look at the NFC at large, they're even sitting at where their record is right now. It's not like they're out of it. Maybe there's a belief inside the building that, hey, we can still make a run. Look at the rest of the NFC. We can figure things out with what we have. We're not going to overpay. We're not going to, somewhat mortgage the future for a Chase Claypool acquisition if we feel that we can still make a run with what we have. So I'm surprised something didn't get done, but ultimately, given what we saw and given what the Claypool deal was in the end, I can almost understand it.
I look at it this way, and a lot of people say, well, why, if you need more than one guy to help this team, why would you make a deal? First of all, if Rodgers comes back again next year, and we believe with 50 million reasons on the table he will, then at least you get this half of a season to work with a guy, plus you're already on the same page going into next season. Whatever you do in the draft to bolster this team, because God knows they hang on to draft picks like grim death. And then maybe you get another year of Romeo Doubs. Christian Watson gets a full training camp, doesn't get injured again because he's down yet again. So maybe you get your full complement of wide receivers and a veteran, and then maybe things begin to materialize. I can't fathom why this team, if you just go through the recent drafts, specifically like you look at a third-round pick, their third-round picks have sucked. I mean, this team has just sucked when it comes to certain areas of the draft, and they hang on to these things, these unproven commodities like grim death, and I just can't understand why. Can you make heads or tails of it?
I mean, what's interesting, specifically with the wide receiver position, I think the reason that Packers fans are upset is you look at next year's free agent market and wide receiver is very thin. And in contrast to the receiving draft classes we've seen the past couple of cycles, it looks like this class isn't materializing the way we thought. And so the idea that, if that was the idea that, we're not going to overpay for Claypool because we could fix this in the offseason, well, looking ahead, it doesn't look great, whether it's the draft level or free agency. Now, obviously, things can change. We might see somebody that really sort of sets themselves apart from the class, whether it's at the Senior Bowl or Shrine Game or something like that. But if the idea is we're not going to make this move because we think we could fix it via free agency in the draft next spring, that doesn't fly with me, because I think those groups of talent pools at the wide receiver position are thin. And the draft, as we know, regardless of position, generally speaking, it's an inexact science. We see it all the time with, somebody's a riser, somebody's a faller, somebody ran a great 40, so suddenly they're the best receiver of the draft class. Teams get things wrong all the time. Like you said, Bill, Green Bay gets these mid-round picks wrong all the time. All teams do. And so when you at least have the opportunity to acquire somebody that you've seen on the field in an NFL uniform for the past couple of years, that might have been the better way to go.
Do you like what, say, the Bears did and trying to find Justin Fields, who they clearly are invested in now? Do you like what they did as far as adding Chase Claypool to that mix?
I liked it in the sense that it shows that they're trying to add around him. I liked the other two moves they made a bit more. The Robert Quinn move, because the veteran pass rusher at this point to get something for him, I thought was a nice bit of business. you weren't going to re-sign Roquan Smith. It seemed like that relationship had completely fractured. He was saying it's bad faith, the offer that was put in front of him. So to get a second, to get a fifth, to get a veteran player, I think was a smart move by Chicago. I like, in a sense, adding Claypool because it shows that they're trying to build around Justin Fields, and we know that they need to add receiver and help. I would have preferred it if you gave, the Baltimore second-round pick because, it might be a difference of, say, 20 picks. You basically moved down in the second round to do that. So I question that angle of it, but if that's what it took to get it done, then I understand. So, I like the Quinn and Smith moves a little bit more, but you can at least see that, okay, Chicago's in a position now where they're starting to add some draft capital. Even with the Claypool trade, they still have 3 picks in the first 2 rounds right now. They have about $120 million to spend via free agency. And so they'll be able to continue to make some moves. So that process that we all knew was coming, it's finally begun.
The 2 quarterbacks everybody's talking about is Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. Have the quarterbacks declined that much, or has the talent around them not permitted them to shine the way they once have?
I think it's a combination of the two in a sense, Bill. As we're seeing defenses, again, the too high world that we're living in, trying to really sort of limit what you can do in the vertical passing game in terms of creating explosive plays. And you and I have talked a lot already this season about Green Bay and their inability to generate some of those explosive plays. When you're forced to try to be patient and live underneath and take easier throws and put together 10, 12, 14 play drives at times, eventually you might have a breakdown if you don't have that talent. And that's where the second part of it comes in. So I think with what we're seeing defensively, what defenses are really forcing offenses to try to do, coupled with, maybe some injuries, maybe some lack of chemistry issues like we're seeing with the Green Bay right now when receiver and quarterback aren't always on the same page, injuries or inability to protect the quarterback like we're sometimes seeing down in Tampa Bay. When you're forcing the offense to put together these longer drives and you're forcing them to be perfect more often than just one big shot play over the top, when you don't have all the pieces together, that's when you're seeing offenses struggle. And I think that's a lot of what we're seeing right now in Green Bay and Tampa Bay.
Looking at what the Vikings have done and adding Hawkinson and now getting a legit tight end that can go out and catch passes, be yet another weapon to what they already have over there with Dalvin Cook and company. How good are they now?
I think the Hawkinson trade was a very good move from the Minnesota Vikings because you're talking about this season, Kirk Cousins, I think he was like 30th in QBR when thrown to tight ends this year out of 33 qualified passers, near the bottom of the league. Irv Smith Jr. now sidelined with a high ankle sprain for 8 to 10 weeks. So to get a tight end and to really not give up that much for him, I think was a fantastic move. I know part of the reason Detroit was willing to move on him is from people that I've talked to, they didn't think that they were going to be able to sign him to a long-term deal when his rookie deal was, finished. There was an idea that the team and the player were pretty far apart on value. And so maybe Detroit, similar to the Roquan Smith discussion, figured, look, we're not going to get anything for him. We're not going to get him to a long-term deal. Why not get something for him? I think that's what happened from Detroit's perspective. But I still, Bill, dating back to the summer, I still have questions about the Vikings overall because, yes, they're 6-1. But the one good team, the one really good team they played, Philadelphia, that's their one loss. They've got wins against Detroit, Saints, the Bears, the Dolphins without Tua, the Cardinals this past week. Their resume is a little thin. I think we'll know a lot more about Minnesota, Thanksgiving night, because over the next couple of weeks after they play Washington, they get Buffalo and Dallas, those 2 weeks following that, and then New England on Thanksgiving night. How do they look on Thanksgiving night when that New England game ends? Because if they've continued to win, if they maybe beat Dallas and have a close one against Buffalo and beat New England, then I'll believe. But if they beat Washington and then lose two out of three or even 3 straight, I think we'll get a better sense of who the Vikings really are.
You got the Cowboys and Giants are kind of your wild card teams right now if the playoffs were today. And I know that's kind of ludicrous, but just living in this right now. Dallas 6-2, Giants 6-2. Then you got San Francisco with 4 wins, Washington with 4 wins. And then you got the Rams, the Buccaneers, the Packers, the Cardinals, the Saints, Bears, all with 3 wins. And everybody's within striking distance. Is there a team in this big mush of mediocrity that you feel is the best equipped to be able to come out and grab themselves an additional wild card spot?
Looking at that sort of clump of teams, setting the Cowboys aside because they're 6-2, looking at this clump of teams right now, I like what San Francisco has done. They're sitting there at 4-4. Added McCaffrey. We saw the impact that he had on that offense this past week, right? Touchdown pass, touchdown run, receiving touchdown. When they get Debo back and fully healthy, the ways that Kyle Shanahan will be able to stress defenses and force them into some tough situations, because those are two offensive, Swiss Army knife type players. You might see some formations where you've got Samuel in the backfield and McCaffrey in the slot. What do? Do you put a linebacker over Samuel and treat him as a running back? Do you put a corner over him? Like, how are you going to handle that? They'll be able to really generate some looks pre-snap that will simplify the decision-making for Jimmy Garoppolo, give them some mismatches. If they decide, hey, we're going to treat Samuel like he's still a wide receiver, we're going to play with a corner over him, they'll run him between the tackles. They've done that before with Samuel. If they treat him like a linebacker, they'll try to get a one-on-one route with him. And so they've got an ability now with Samuel and McCaffrey, when they're both on the field together, to do some really creative things. And I think we're going to see down the stretch that offense really sort of take shape, create problems for defenses. And I think we'll see San Francisco going on a little bit of a run.
I know the Packers coming into this game against Detroit, they're favored. I can't imagine many games after this that the Packers are going to be favored. God forbid they lose this game, but I can't, because they're staring down the barrel of Dallas after that back at Lambeau Field, and the return of Mike McCarthy and all that kind of stuff. So there's going to be a lot of anxiety there. But can you imagine any game other than this Detroit game that the Packers are actually going to be favored in the remainder of the season, the way they're playing right now?
I could cheat here and I could say the season finale against Detroit at home. There's that one. Maybe the Rams game, you get that Rams game at home. But, like I said, I took the easy way out with that second Lions game. Maybe that Rams game, but because also that Rams game, you're coming off the bye. But other than that, maybe Chicago. But, yeah, you've got Tennessee. You've got Philadelphia. You've got Miami on the road. And, Christmas Day in Miami, it's still going to be a little warm then. So Miami's often pose problems for teams. I know New England has always struggled down there. And so it's not the easiest slate down the stretch here for Green Bay.
So I'm just going by what you stated, the 3 games they'd be favoring, Chicago, maybe twice against Detroit. Can we talk about a six win season? 6-11 6-11 on the season for, oh my God, think about that for a minute.
Yeah, not great. Maybe 7. Like I said, that Rams game 2 coming out of the bye. So maybe 7. So who knows? Could 7 wins get you in? It almost looks like it could in this NFC, especially once those NFC East teams start beating up on each other.
Yeah, I get it. Hey, real quick before I let you go, you look at the AFC. Obviously, the AFC is somewhat in flux right now. Same thing. You've got 4 teams that are really good. Buffalo, Tennessee, Kansas City, we believe in. Baltimore's defense, especially in the second half of games, not great. New York, the Jets are sitting in uncharted territory. Miami's at 5-3, the Chargers. And then you got the defending AFC champion Cincinnati sitting in number 9, only 4 wins on the season. Who's going to creep up, do you think, there? Obviously, we believe Buffalo, we believe Tennessee, we believe Kansas City. After that, where does this lie, do you think? Who's got that strong suit?
I really thought Cincinnati was going to put a run together, but with this Chase injury and what we saw from that offense on Monday night, now I'm a little worried about the Bengals. So take them out of it. Miami and Baltimore. I look at what those 2 teams have done in the past couple of days with the moves that they've made. Miami in particular, right? They're struggling to pressure the quarterback. Last year, it was all the zero blitz stuff, and they were blitzing heavy. They were pressuring quarterbacks, I think, the second most in the league. Now they're near the bottom. They have Bradley Chubb, a guy that can win some one-on-ones. They won't have to blitz as much, or if they do, it might be a little bit more successful to get some more pressure on the quarterback. So I like what they've done. Plus, Tua is playing at a very high level. And then in Baltimore, added Roquan Smith. What I think they'll do is take Patrick Queen, who's shown some burst and explosiveness on the outside as a pass rusher, maybe play him in more of an outside linebacker role. Smith, I think, can then be that sort of inside linebacker that is, I think, an improvement in coverage over Patrick Queen, because I really like what Roquan Smith does as a coverage linebacker. And so I think those 2 teams got some help in areas they needed to address before the deadline. And so I'm watching Miami and Baltimore because I think those 2 teams might put together a second half run.
Mark, great stuff as always, buddy. We'll talk again next week, okay?
Sounds great, Bill. Thanks so much. Have a great week.
Appreciate it, pal. There you go. Mark Schofield, SB Nation at Mark Schofield, SCHOFIELD over on Twitter. Really good stuff. Really good stuff. Great to talk with him. A lot of depth there. Always good to chat with him on Wednesdays. When we come back, I want to get into some of the discussion. There's a lot of stuff that's flying around I want to get into, both on Twitter and over on the Bud Light live stream. Phone calls are coming in. Emails are coming in. 877-867-1670. If a line's available, grab it. Would love to get some phone calls coming up next. Stay tuned. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up right after this.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Cool weather, brisk winds, and a hot deal. Hi, this is Gina Della from Pella. Is your home ready for winter weather? Don't wait. Right now, put no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 2 years. When it's cold outside, thanks to Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, you'll be warm and toasty inside. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin can be installed in as little as a day, with little to no disruption to your family or your home. Plus, you'll get expert advice from our Pella specialists, professional installation by Pella's certified installers, and the excellent service our customers have come to expect. And Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin has products and warranty offers you won't find anywhere else. Don't wait for the heating bills to start piling up. Right now, put no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 2 years at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Visit PellaWI.com today.
Expires 11/30/2022. Certain exclusions and restrictions apply. See showroom for details.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Wisconsin, want to let you know, no payments, no money down, no interest, 2 years. That simple. And the commercial is out, by the way. I just found that out yesterday, both on YouTube and on the television. And if you have seen it, great. Get a little glimpse into the house. But that is actually, yes. I had 2 people email me last night and say, hey, I saw the commercial. Is that actually your house? It is. It's actually my house. It's my doors, the outside of the house. It's the way it looks. Yes. Not that they showed the whole home or anything. It is. We're actually sitting and doing the interview in my living room. That's the living room space upstairs. But yep, and I could not be happier. I'll tell you, I know it's. I love the fact that summer's hanging on like grim death here. It's just keeping a grip on us, and I absolutely love it. I know this weekend's going to be rainy and cold again, but once the cold wind starts blowing, man, I am going to be so thankful that I got that door replaced this year. The great room already on days that I woke up and it was in the 30s or the upper 20s. That room down there that used to be cool, and I used to have to close it off because it just dipped a little bit too much. It just heat-wise, it couldn't keep up. Right there, set right at 69 degrees, and it doesn't move. It's awesome. I love that door. It's so economical, and it's easy to operate. I can actually see out of it now down there. It's brightened up the whole room. It's just a great experience, and it adds value to the house. All the windows and doors are now complete. That's our friends at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Go to PellaWI.com. That is PellaWI.com. So, this is what there's 2 things I want to get into here, but this one, when I heard it concerned me. This was Matt LaFleur. Mike Clemens had it in his update. If you heard it, great. If you didn't, I want to play it for you. This is what Matt LaFleur had to say when asked specifically about guys. Hey, look, guys are questioning game plans. This is what Matt LaFleur's response was.
It's impossible to please everybody. Everybody has their own opinions, their own ideas. It's like anything else in life. You know, you have to get the staff on the same page first and foremost, making sure that everybody is confident in the plan, and then you teach it to the players.
That's the comment from Matt LaFleur. Did you catch all of that? Did you catch all of that? I really listen to it one more time. I want you to listen to it one more time. This is what Matt had. The question was, hey, there's guys that are, kind of questioning the scheme here. That's some of the stuff that's going on, specifically defensively. But there's some guys questioning it. This was the response.
It's impossible to please everybody. Everybody has their own opinions, their own ideas. It's like anything else in life. You know, you have to get the staff on the same page first and foremost, making sure that everybody is confident in the plan, and then you teach it to the players.
Look, if everybody's buying into your system, nobody's questioning anything. Now, players question, hey, should I be on that guy or should this guy be on that guy? Should I have this side of the field? Should I have that side of the field? Guys will question certain things, but they don't question on a continual basis how they're being used, the scheme. And trying to get the coaches on the same. What? I get coaches will say, we can't do this. We got to do that. Here's what I see. Here's what you see. But, and I don't want to blow this up too much, but the Wisconsin family tweeted me and said, the Packers pay an aging Rodgers a boatload of money. They don't support him with the necessary pieces. The Packers pay Alexander boatload of money, and they don't even put him on the opponent's number 1 wide receiver. The Packers have the best running back duo in the National Football League, supposedly, and they don't even use them until Game 8. Make it make sense to me. My response is I can't. It's absolute stupidity, which is why I've said there is something else going on behind closed doors. You can't put your finger on it. You're not behind closed doors. You're not privy to it. Is it an attitude? Is it a feeling? Is it the message from Matt LaFleur's already grown old? Is it the fact that Nathaniel Hackett and Luke Getsy, kind of like when 2 friends leave a group, the group dynamic is different. It's not as open. It's not as fun. It's not, you don't realize the conduit of what you had for discussion. Is that gone? Is the creativity gone because those two guys are no longer a part of the offense? Is Joe Barry reverting back to something from years gone by? Because for all intents and purposes, this was a defense that played pretty good last year and looked to be ascending, and gets 2 additional players to add depth. Plus you get what's considered to be one of the best cover corners in the league back, and yet you don't use them the way everybody feels you could probably use them. And then it regresses, and you bring in Jaron Reed, and everything regresses. And you can see it. I mean, you don't need me to sit here and go, you know what? On a 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, when you're playing 14 yards off the ball and you're backpedaling on the snap, do the math, but it's not that hard to pick up a first down. Now, I don't need to be here behind a microphone to tell you that, because you're already seeing it going, what the F? Right? You're sitting at home, you're throwing your popcorn at the screen, you're in the stand, you're screaming and yelling, and the players are probably looking around going, we get it. This is where we don't agree. We get it, but this is what they're telling us to do. Tackling seems to be something of, I can't remember the last time we saw a really tenacious defense. Maybe Za'Darius and Preston's first year when they were just getting after it and bringing an attitude, but you don't have that attitude anymore. I don't know. I don't know. You had an opportunity to give them a shot of adrenaline in making a deal to acquire somebody that would help you. You didn't. You're always calling every year. It's the same yap, 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 blah, 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 blah. Every year it's the same thing. We're on the phone. We were in the mix. We were talking to, but you don't ever make a move. You value yourself more than the team. You don't ever make a move. So now what? I can't make sense of it. I think the questions are legitimate. I think you as Packer, the one thing I learned when I moved here in 1999, I learned it extremely quick, is Packers fans in no way, they're emotional, but they're not stupid. They're not stupid. You know the game. They're not stupid. You know what's going on. You can look over that fence. You know. Now, emotionally, yeah, there's probably some, too high and too low emotions. I understand that. But you can see it. You can see it. Something isn't right. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. I wish I did. But when you have a coach that says we got to get the coaches on the same page, you're not going to make everybody happy. It's not your job to make everybody happy. It's your job to get everybody to buy in. Happiness is winning. Happiness is buying into a program that works. What a coach's job is to put your players in the best position to be successful. Setting them back 10 yards deep and backpedaling on a snap on a 3rd and 6 is the most dumbass thing you can possibly do. Whoever calls that shouldn't have a job. Using a duel of backs finally against the number 1 rush defense in the league and having success after not really using them all season long and keep saying, oh, that's unacceptable, I got to look at the tape, is a dumbass. I don't understand it. 877-867-1670. Hit us up. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back to the program. Good to have you. Don't forget about our friends at J&L Tire Service out in Johnson Creek. Lyle and his gang. You can see it right from 94, the Johnson Creek exit. If you're between Milwaukee and Madison, if you're an over-the-road driver, if you're a soccer mom, if you're out there doing sales calls, or maybe you just got a vehicle, you're taking the kids around, or you're taking yourself around for that matter, and you just want to get an oil change or something even more in-depth, they can handle it all. That's J&L Tire Service. They're not just tires and brakes. They do it all out there at Johnson Creek. at the Johnson Creek exit right off of 94. And if you're the over-the-road driver and you need some help, boy, they're great. They have the facilities for big rigs as well. So stop out and see Lyle and the gang. J&L Tire Service right out there in Johnson Creek, and tell them we said hi. Also in Watertown, too, jnltire.com, jnltire.com. 877-867-1670. This is Aaron Rodgers from yesterday on the Pat McAfee show, and he says it feels more like the Packers, more like a football team again.
Last week when I said about feeling like the Packers, it was more just we're practicing like a good football team. And I don't feel like we had consistently been doing that week to week. And there's been times over the past where, you have some rough weeks of practice or things don't look perfect and go out and just light it up. And there's been times you practice incredible and go on the field and have a hard time scoring. So it doesn't always correlate, but the feeling of it, the energy, it's just felt better. Pre-game, this was the first game of the season where it really felt like we were ready to play, like energetically. And that's a weird thing to put your finger on, but it's more just a feeling that we're dialed in and we're locked in and ready to go. And again, obviously it doesn't translate to a win, but that energy I think is encouraging for us moving forward. When it comes to Samori, I had a conversation with him.
And we'll get back into the Samori Toure stuff a little bit later, but when you start talking about it finally feels like Packers again, you're 8 games into the season. We finally had good practice. You're 8 games into the season. I hear that. That's an indictment of coaching. That's an indictment of coaching. I don't know about you, but I felt really confident in a lot of the things Matt LaFleur has done coming into this season. Doesn't lose at home. Really protects the home field. Unbelievably good at it, which is the reason when we started going through the schedule, I thought, 13, 14 wins. Here we go. You're going to win at home. Some of these road games you're going to get. We could pick the ones they probably wouldn't win, but you protect the home. You're good. This is good. 13, 14 wins. They're not going to come close. They're going to be lucky to get to 7, I think. But when you have now, some will say, Aaron Rodgers, you're airing this stuff. You need to shut up. Quit talking about, all this kind of stuff. Okay, whatever. On the other hand, again, I doing what I do, I appreciate it. But as a fan, this is a glimpse behind the scenes. He's saying, look, we haven't had really good practices all season long. We've had a few here and there, but it hasn't been great. Just hasn't been. And we finally feel like the Packers again. Wait a minute. You've gone through training camp since the end of July. And we're sitting here now on yesterday when that aired, it was November 1st, and you haven't had that. Wow. That's a little disconcerting, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Bill, it feels like not only a coaching thing, but a leadership thing. Where obviously the coaches set the tone, but also the leaders of the defense and the leaders of the offense and the guys that are supposed to bring the juice and be the heartbeat of those units.
Isn't it ironic? The guy that brought the juice was the guy that seemed alienated from this team, who was just named the Defensive Player of the Week.
Yeah.
When they said they didn't believe in him, that, hey, the injury's too much, and on and on and on, that they parted ways with Zadarius Smith. And boy, he's sticking it to everybody over here, because he's gone on and did exactly what he said he was going to do. And he's not, even though some say, well, he's full of bravado, and he's bringing it. He's walking the walk, man. He's walking the walk.
Oh, he's getting Kirk Cousins a chain for Christmas. Imagine Kirk Cousins wearing a chain.
Yeah, right.
That says enough.
He'll fall over. But it's again, another gross oversight. And I still wonder, were they that mad at him because he decided to get his back surgery? It certainly has paid off. He did what was best for him at the time. And he certainly, I mean, if you watched him play in game 1 of last season, trying to move on the field, the guy was going to be completely inept all season long because he couldn't run. Boy. Guy made a move for himself, did what he thought was right, and now look at it. He was a huge loss of. Now, last year they played pretty well, and he was apparently alienated and not really a part of that defense, and he only played one game for a short period of time. So I get it. I get the thought process, but man, just another gross overestimation of, we can do this without him. We can move on without him. We don't have to have this. And you're just like, wow. Just
Bill, I can't stop thinking with why they played well. The fact that you had 2 one-year wonders come in that had struggled most of their careers or been okay and play at a pretty much all-pro level in Campbell and Douglas.
Mm-hmm.
And then now you kind of relied on 2 of those guys to, especially Campbell, to
Yeah.
be your leader this season. And early returns are last year could have been the one-year wonder when
Right.
it comes to those guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Rasul Douglas, I think, is a solid player. I don't think, and we talked about that because you've seen him prior to him coming to Green Bay. Rasul Douglas really kind of got a shot of adrenaline when he came to Green Bay. He did some things that he just wasn't normally doing throughout his career, but he thrived, and he praised the fact that he was able to kind of play free and he was playing in a spot he was comfortable and, and such.
Well,
So
because they let him play zone.
there you go.
Jim Schwartz in Philly had him playing man for 4 years. Never worked.
Yeah.
And then on Sunday, you saw him on Stephon Diggs. Doesn't work as well when he's in man.
And so last year you did not have, when it came to playing zone, you did not have Jair, so you were playing some zone. Now you got Jair back. Jair can't play man. They don't want him to. They want him to play zone. They're not playing well in zone, and they're not being aggressive. They're basically being told, don't let anything get behind you, so they're playing way back off the ball. And you're like, what the hell, And the defense has given up yardage both in the run and in the pass. And it's just like, wow, how did things go from being so good to so off, 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. You want to hit us up, feel free to go ahead and do so. Again, 877-867-1670. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show. This portion brought to you by our friends at Kane and Kane Jewelers, KOEHN, KaneJewelry.com, where the Buy Like a Guy podcast, really solid. But if you're looking for that holiday gift, that's the place to go up to West Bend. It's worth the drive. Kane and Kane Jewelers in West Bend. Go to KaneJewelry.com.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, in Green Bay, here's Mike Clemens.
The Packers not able to complete any trade deals, but they were in talks for Steelers receiver Chase Claypool, who's headed to the Bears. Green Bay releasing 2 players, outside linebacker Kobe Jones and running back Patrick Taylor. Matt LaFleur asked if there's any dissension among some of the defensive players regarding the game plan during this 4-game losing streak.
We'd be foolish not to listen to our players at certain times. And then ultimately we have to make the best decision for a football team in terms of how do you go about winning the game. And there were some great moments, and then there were some not so great moments.
Aaron Rodgers on the McAfee Show talked about a bad call on Robert Tonyan for offensive pass interference after losing to the Bills.
We still haven't played a complete game. We're still looking for that after 8 weeks. It's disappointing, but it's the way it goes. We've had a lot of injuries, which hasn't helped us. I thought there was, a call that definitely went against us in the game on the Tonyan touchdown. My thing was they're hand fighting for one. Like, if you want to call OPI, then you have to call a corresponding hold.
And Bills linebacker Von Miller discussed with former defensive back Richard Sherman on the Bleacher Report what he asked Aaron Rodgers during the game Sunday night.
When I was asking him, hey, why y'all not passing the ball, man? Not only with Aaron Rodgers, but Russell Wilson and
No. I'll tell you what Aaron said. I ain't got nobody to throw it to. I don't trust none of them. I wish I could throw it to myself. That's what he said to you. I don't trust these boys. They couldn't catch a cold in a snowstorm in Alaska. That's what he said.
That's Richard Sherman. In Green Bay, I'm Mike Clemens on the Bill Michaels Show.
Couldn't catch a cold in a snowstorm in Alaska. Wow. Oh, man. This portion of the program, by the way, brought to you by our friends at the Irish Cultural and Heritage Center. I've been talking about them for a while now, and we want to do something with them here in maybe about 3-4 weeks for Christmas too. Maybe we'll do a Christmas donation. We gotta get that rolling because I think it's a tremendous place. They really decorate it up nice for Christmas, but it is a wonderful, wonderful place. And Corey is a great guy who runs it over there. They have got Christmas O'Carolyn coming up December 18th, Christmas O'Carolyn. And if you are looking for tickets in advance, they're anywhere from $25 to $35. It is going to be it's the Irish Christmas O'Carolyn. It is awesome. If you just want to see a really cool concert in a very historic, beautiful old venue, it is just cool. And again, it's Christmas O'Carolyn. And if you want to come up and purchase tickets, ICHC.net. ICHC.net. It is a really cool thing. The Irish Cultural and Heritage Center, it's in Wisconsin Avenue in Milwaukee. And again, Christmas O'Carolyn coming to town December 18th. Write it down. And it would be a great thing to just go and witness. It's really cool event. And they have event planning there too. If you want to do a wedding, if you want to do meetings, whatever, they've got that as well. But Christmas O'Carolyn coming up on December 18th. 877.
Oh, they got to be.
Go ahead.
They got to be fired up over there. Seamus Power won the Butterfield Open last week.
There you go. Anybody named Seamus winning anything gets them fired up. By the way, I
Dropkick
just said
Murphys made a song for him.
they're
fired up.
I think they've actually played there.
I'm a big Dropkick Murphys guy.
Are you really?
Well, my dad's from Boston. That was.
Oh, well, there you go.
It's kind of a rite of passage. It's
Yeah.
the intro to Zach and my radio show.
Yeah. Oh, is it really? I didn't even know that. I mean, I heard the music. I just forgot it was the Dropkick Murphys. How about that? Did not know. You can play Dropkick Murphys on this program. We don't have a problem with that.
Anyway, have you tried catching a snowstorm in Alaska? I haven't been up there.
No, I have not. I don't really. I know Alaska is a beautiful place, and all the time I get asked when travel companies come and they want to advertise, and they say, "Hey, let's send you on an Alaskan cruise." You know, you and listeners, and I love it. I'm sure it's beautiful. I just don't want to go anyplace snowy. I want to go warm. I want to go beach. I want to go beverages. That's what I want to do. If you want to work with us and you want to send us on a all-inclusive karma to whatever vacation, you know, Bahamas vacation, I'm in. If you want to do a cruise, I'm in. I'm good with that. But I just don't have a desire to go to Alaska. I just don't. I know it's beautiful. I know ice caps are melting and, you know, ice is chunking, falling into the ocean, and it's an incredible thing, and the whales and stuff. And I don't have a desire. Never have. Maybe when I get old and decrepit one day and I'm ready to, you know, croak over and somebody says, "Hey, you'll preserve better in the cold," maybe that's where I'll go. But other than that, no.
Oh, we can freeze your body like Ted Williams.
Yeah, me, Ted Williams, Walt Disney. We can all put our heads in a cryo freezer and call it a day. Yeah, I get it. Oh, goodness. 877-867-1670. Let's go to our buddy Tim listening to us in Sparta. Tim, how you doing today, man? What's up?
I am doing well, Bill. I loved your rant yesterday. I love it when you go off on these people for being stupid.
Appreciate it.
But I think, you know, in answer to your people yesterday that were going off the deep end, I lived through the Packers of the 70s. I saw their greatness in the 60s. And then I had to live through the 70s and 80s where, you know, if you got one win a year, you were just happy as all get out. And if you got somehow lucky enough to beat the Bears, you were ecstatic. I don't ever want to go back to those days. I don't. And if if you make a good choice, you don't have to. But at the same time, I think this goes back to the head coach. I think this goes back to LaFleur, because we all can see that Barry sucks. I mean, he just does. My question is LaFleur the guy that's going to be the next Wade Phillips or Norv Turner? You know, they were great coordinators, but you put them as a head coach and they don't have it. They don't have that to lead a bunch of testosterone-filled guys.
Here's the thing. I don't even think he was a great coordinator. I think he's been a better head coach than he has been a coordinator. Wouldn't you? I mean, and again, I don't know the ins and outs, but I'll say this. The rumor was that Matt LaFleur could have been, he maybe had one more year left. If that offense didn't prove themselves, then he was going to be canned. And now he's instead he gets the head coaching job of the Green Bay Packers, being this dynamic, influential, creative guy and working with Aaron Rodgers. And all of a sudden now all the creativity's gone and he's scrambling to get guys on the same page. I wouldn't even call him a great coordinator.
Yeah, I thought the hire when it was made, was a little suspect. I mean, I think he got hired because of the tree that he came out of. A lot of these guys do. But, since he's become head coach, well, how can you argue with 13-3, 13-3, 13-3, or 13-4? My whole argument has been with Aaron Rodgers and the offense that they had, the defense that was middle of the road, and a special teams that sucked forever. I mean, how many head coaches go into a championship game and utter the quote, "I just hope that our special teams doesn't cost us the game"?
Right.
No head coach ever says things like that. None that I've ever heard in the 55, 60 years I've been watching professional football. No coach has ever said that.
Yeah.
I think this all boils down to LaFleur. And I hate to say it, but I do not think that he is a leader of guys filled with testosterone. I just don't. And I think that's the problem.
I appreciate the phone call. Thanks so much, Tim. It's a great question. Let's do this. We'll deal with this coming up after the top of the next hour. We got Brad Spielberger going to be joining us coming up next from Pro Football Focus. We'll talk with him a little bit more about all of this and about some of the teams that got better, some of the teams building towards the future, and the team that is stuck in the mud. Stay tuned. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. This portion of the program brought to you by our buddy Dwayne's of Dwayne's Cover It All. Wausau is where he's located, but man, oh man, he is Wisconsin's best, the best canvas upholstery boat cover provider. Follow him on Facebook, Dwayne'sCoverItAll.com, DUANES, Dwayne'sCoverItAll.com. Call him 715-870-2119, 715-870-2119. Could be office furniture, could be furniture in your house, your boat cover, travel cover, whatever it happens to be, or storage cover. Get hold of our buddy Dwayne. More of the Bill Michaels Show. It's coming up right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Packers going to play with the team they've got. That's after GM Brian Gutekunst decided or was unable to make a move at the trade deadline to bolster a roster that has the team sitting at 3-5 on the year. Packers reportedly in the running for Pittsburgh wide receiver Chase Claypool, but he ended up going to the Bears instead. ESPN reported the Packers also looking to add at tight end, but nothing came from that. It means Coach Matt LaFleur and his coaching staff going to have to get things figured out with the players already on the roster.
As a whole, as a team, we have to play better complementary football, and then we might not be having this conversation. It hasn't been consistent at all. It's like one side is doing it, the other side isn't. You got to play complementary football and understand that there's going to be some moments where one side of the ball may be struggling. That's where the other side of the ball has to kind of pick it up.
Packers going to finish off a 3-game road trip this Sunday when they head to Detroit to face the 1-6 Lions. Kick is at noon. Turning to Wisconsin, they are going to welcome Maryland to town this Saturday. Badgers favored by 5, but the Terrapins have been playing some good football, has them sitting at 6-2 overall on the year. Wisconsin still needs 2 more wins to become bowl eligible. Kick on Saturday morning is set for 11 a.m.
Want to save even more at Fleet Farm? Well, now you can with Fleet Rewards. It's free to sign up, and there's no credit card required. Using Fleet Rewards is easy. Earn points every time you shop. Plus, get exclusive member offers, birthday and anniversary perks, free tire rotations, and more. Download the Fleet Farm app or create an account at fleetfarm.com/rewards to start earning points today. Fleet Farm, proudly serving the Midwest since 1955.
Well, the Bucks will look to keep their unbeaten season going tonight as they take on the Pistons for a second straight game. Milwaukee 6-0, the only team without a loss in the NBA and their best start since 2018. Tip tonight at Fiserv Forum set for 7. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
Welcome back to the program. Hour number 3 of the Bill Michaels Show. Good to have you on board today. This portion of the program brought to you by Numel Medical. We'll get back into that coming up here in just a bit. But bringing him in now, our buddy Brad Spielberger from Pro Football Focus joining us on the hotline. Brad, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Good. I wish, obviously, we were a little bit better off as a football team, but all in all, I can't complain personally. But, man, right now the Packers just sitting kind of stuck in the mud. They didn't make a deal. In my opinion, they're valuing draft picks higher than somebody that's proven that's going to help the team in the here and the now. I get The Packers are in a different situation. Everybody else, you can talk about draft choices and building for the future and getting something to help a team that looks as if they're going to win right now. You got 2, maybe 3 years with Aaron Rodgers, and then it's done. Why in the world would you not throw in an additional 7th or 6th or 5th round draft choice to make a deal for a wide receiver that can legitimately help this team?
Yeah, I'm with you 110%. And I am generally the person that is making that argument about draft capital and being frugal, and I do believe in the Packers' general approach. This year is different. Like you said, I mean, you make this massive investment. You have a $58 million option coming up for Rodgers this offseason. You're trying to determine the course of the next couple of years of your franchise. You reinvest in all these defensive guys, Devondre Campbell and Rasul Douglas, these kind of diamonds in the rough on defense, and then you're not willing to make maybe that final push at the deadline that can get you back on track, can bring in a bona fide known commodity at wide receiver that is so desperately needed. I'm with you. It is a misstep. They should have, I do think Chicago and them battling over the player and Chase Claypool from Pittsburgh and Chicago willing to go to maybe a top 40 pick is probably an overpay for Chicago. But, it's a win. The window is now. The window is not, down the road.
The Packers standing pad, we were talking about this a little bit earlier. I don't see but maybe 2, 3 games, a couple of times against Detroit, once against Chicago maybe, that they're actually going to be favored. We could be looking at a team that wins only 7 games this season, right?
It's entirely possible. It's hard to look at them and say they should be heavy favorites. The last couple of weeks now, I do a gambling podcast, and we look at them laying, a touchdown on the spread, -7, -8 against some of these teams in New York and Washington, and I didn't guess they would lose those games outright, but I said, why is anyone laying a full touchdown in this Green Bay Packers team in any of these games? They obviously went on to lose all of those games outright. So, yeah, I mean, I'm with you. You can right the ship. You can get back on track. You have David Bakhtiari and Elton Jenkins, maybe hopefully finally actually playing on a week-to-week basis. Rashawn Gary getting healthy again. You can point to certain things, but at the end of the day, no one's going to come in and magically fix this team where it's needed most at wide receiver. I don't see why Odell Beckham Jr. would go to Green Bay as opposed to other options. It is a pretty bleak outlook for the rest of the year.
Okay, we talk about some of the things that have been done. The Packers didn't do anything, but you're staring, as you mentioned, Aaron Rodgers is going to be a big cap hit next year. You got Aaron Jones coming up as well with a big number. You're going to be paying some of these other guys that you have on this team. David Bakhtiari is a huge cap hit going into next year. You would assume he's not going to be back with the team. How in the weeds are the Green Bay Packers financially?
Yeah, it's pretty bleak because if you are going to move on from some of those players, I think Aaron Jones, even as good as he's continued to be, when he signed his extension, it was hey, this is a 2-year contract, and then we're probably going to move on. A.J. Dillon hasn't really been super efficient, about 4.1 yards per carry, has 4 drops on the year, so they've kind of stopped targeting him altogether, which is not a great development there. You'd imagine using a second-round pick on a player at that position, the goal was to have him eventually supplant Aaron Jones. With Bakhtiari, he is good when he plays. Like you said, though, it's hard to kind of justify if he's going to be in and out of the lineup. And remember, there was that quote from Zach Tom about how the whole team the whole offensive line group always stays ready to play because you see Bakhtiari in practice and he looks like he's like limping around at all times. So, yeah, it's a pretty bad situation. I mean, they are currently a little bit under the cap, about $4.5 million under the cap for next year, with most of the roster signed, 46 players before any draft picks. But, you need talent, and they're lacking in a lot of top-end talent.
You really got to figure a way, in my opinion, to keep Aaron Jones. At this point, I think I'd part ways with David Bakhtiari only for the fact that he's not giving you much of anything, even though he did play rather well last week. Unless he really comes back and looks like David Bakhtiari, the knee is no issue. I still think I would cut ties with David Bakhtiari. So if you do end up with, 14, 18 million under the cap by the time you rework a few of these deals, is there somebody that's going to be available that you feel would actually help this team wide receiver wise?
And this is the other big thing. And again, like I said, I am from Chicago. I support the Bears. Objectively, an early second-round pick was an overpay for Chase Claypool. That is, in my opinion, a fact. But you look at this free agent market, and it's bleak. That's why I think these trades now are getting so expensive. At the same time that the market is going up from a contract standpoint, it's also going to get harder and harder to trade for these guys. that are known commodities that can come in and be, impact difference makers. I also think Claypool's a phenomenal fit on both of these teams' offenses. Obviously, very similar with Luke Getsy coming over to Chicago. Now, you look at the free agent market, Jacoby Myers from New England, who is a good, maybe not great player, mostly a slot, can move outside now, can win against man coverage off the line of scrimmage, can obviously, find soft spots in the zone, has been productive, whether it's Mac Jones or Bailey Zappi. I think a legitimately good player, but he's a former undrafted free agent, and I think he's literally the best player hitting the market. Alan Lazard is up there on that list as well. A good player, again, not a great player, maybe not a true impact difference maker. Other positions, there is help at offensive line. If they wanted to maybe, make a bigger move, like a Mike McGlinchey out of San Francisco, or even some smaller moves, probably more likely. There is talent there. But again, the biggest glaring need, a wide receiver, which look, Romeo Dobbs and Christian Watson could get healthy, could get, mature and grow and get better as players and maybe make a larger impact next year. But if you're looking for a wide receiver in free agency, you're probably not going to find one.
Did the Minnesota Vikings going in with Hockenson and adding talent at the tight end position? Obviously, they're all in, but how much better did they get when it comes to the NFC?
I think it was a pretty legitimately, impactful move. The news corresponding that Irv Smith, their former second-round pick, is out for about 8 to 10 weeks now with a high ankle sprain, which will effectively end his career as a Minnesota Viking. I think that was obviously very relevant. He'll hit free agency, and now with Hockenson on board, I think they basically just got out ahead of figuring out tight end in free agency and just said, let's just get our long-term answer in a 25-year-old good player. Has he lived up to his top 10 billing? No, he has not. He was supposed to be this incredible blocker and then a good receiver. I think he's an average blocker and a good receiver. But for them, you needed that third weapon. KJ Osborne is an okay third receiver, but he's truly, in my eyes, the third pass-catching weapon is TJ Hockenson. Yeah, I mean, they're making a push. It's obviously a down NFC this year. They are, I think, a class below the Philadelphias, the Dallases, maybe even the San Franciscos. I just worry a lot about their defense, but I get why they do it. I think it's both a now move and a future move. Think about an extension for Hockenson and try to make him a part of your foundation for the next 4 or 5 years.
Talk to me about Philadelphia. They made a move. Obviously, they're a good football team. The East is loaded, as you had just mentioned. Philadelphia, Dallas, New York, all sitting there. Each team, Philadelphia undefeated. Dallas and New York both with 6 wins on the season and only a couple of losses. Give me your thoughts on the East.
Yeah, I think Philly is the class of the division, and I do like the move for Robert Quinn. I mean, he really has kind of fallen off from last year, and this is kind of the big thing we push at PFF, or one of them is he had a very, very unsustainable pressure to sack rate last year. Only had 47 quarterback pressures, but 18.5 of those converted, into sacks. I want to say Rashawn Gary had about double the amount of pressures last year. Obviously did not have 18.5 sacks. So, it's the things we're always looking at, and the regression this year to now, Quinn has 1 sack on the season, has really not been productive at all. It was foreseeable. That being said, a lot of these moves where I find it smart for these acquiring teams is Quinn goes in there now. They have Josh Sweat. They have Brandon Graham. They have Hassan Reddick, their free agent addition. They can rotate these guys. And Quinn can go from playing almost every snap in Chicago to maybe playing, 50, 60% of snaps and making a larger impact on every single one of those snaps. Obviously, a true, pure pass rusher can go after quarterbacks and win in a very, very valuable way. I think they should be the heavy NFC favorite. And I think Dallas is number 2 in the conference. The Giants, I'm not really a believer in. Fun story. They've beaten a lot of, mediocre teams. They do have an easy schedule going forward. But I think it's Dallas and Philly potentially battling for that number 1 overall seed.
Tell me about Seattle. Do you think they're a real threat? Obviously, what's gone out there with the quarterback situation, certainly there's some MVP talk. There's comeback player of the year talk. San Francisco making a deal to get better as well. Give me your thoughts on the West, which was supposed to be so incredibly strong and really has not lived up to any of its billing.
Yeah, it's pretty funny that, we all probably pegged Seattle to come in last in that division, and they're leading the group now. And I'll say this. I was doubters. I took a long time to get there with Seattle. Geno Smith is legitimately playing high-level quarterback, making, impressive throws into tight windows, reading things pre-snap and being very organized and detailed. and understanding what he's seeing and where to go with the football often before he even hikes the ball. We always talk about, again, like Cooper Rush, won 4 games in a row, and there's this created silly controversy of, should they start him over Dak Prescott? Like, the guy was efficient on play action. He was not a good quarterback in a true drop back situations, and they kind of just carried him with a great defense. In Seattle, the defense is not very good. I think that is still their weaker side of the ball. But Geno is playing legitimately top 5, top 10 quarterback. He deserves to be in that MVP conversation. So I think it's fair to say they are maybe a contender to make win a playoff game or two. I struggle to see actually making a Super Bowl push, but yeah, good for them. I still would bet today, if I could, the Niners will win the NFC West.
Give me your thoughts in the AFC. We know it's Buffalo, maybe Baltimore. I think Cincinnati's in danger of not even making the postseason after being the AFC defending champions. Kansas City obviously is going to be right there at 5-2. And then there's Tennessee, kind of the fly in the ointment. Give me your thoughts in the AFC real quick.
Yeah, I think the Ravens, they lose those 3 games by a score early in the year, sit at 3-3, and arguably should have been a 4-2, maybe a 5-1 football team. And now we're seeing some of that positive regression in those 1-score games. They kind of sneak away with one in Cleveland. They were the better team, but Cleveland almost came back and give them another crushing defeat. But they got out of there. Then go to Tampa Bay, get a good one on Thursday, and now you look at the schedule. They get extended rest from Thursday to Monday, then go to New Orleans. That is a winnable game. Then they get their bye. Then they host Carolina at Jacksonville versus Denver at Pittsburgh. They still have another game against Cleveland, Atlanta, Pittsburgh again. I think they could win 12 or 13 games. I don't think they're going to threaten the number 1 seed in the AFC. I think the Bills and the Chiefs right now are in a class of their own in the entire NFL. But I think the Ravens are right there as the 3 seed in the AFC and do have the potential, if they get hot, to make a serious run and maybe challenge one of those teams. But I think that the playoffs go through Buffalo this year.
Brad, always good stuff. I appreciate it, and we'll talk again next week, okay?
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Appreciate it, pal. Talk to you soon. There you go. Brad Spielberger joining us from Pro Football Focus at PFF_Brad. Also deals a lot with the cap, with guys that are coming up, and you can get him on overthecap.com as well. But that's Brad Spielberger joining us for a couple of minutes. We are also going to have, coming up after the top of the next hour, Matt LaFleur's press conference, where he explains a little bit of what he had to say yesterday. Further today, we'll get into that discussion, but that's coming up. Stay tuned. We got a lot to get to. We got questions pouring in. We got comments pouring in. And we obviously want to go through our power rankings today as well, coming up here at the bottom of the hour. So stay tuned with all of this. We got it all coming up. This portion of the program, by the way, we can't do with a lot of our great people. That is our friends from Quick Trip. And don't forget for the Quick Trip opening drive contest right now going on a Quick Trip. You can't, all you got to do is stop by. You need gas anyway, right? Stop by, get yourself some gas. You're good to go. Just type in your Quick Rewards number. No problem. Good stuff right there. And you're automatically registered. 1 lucky winner each week will be eligible, then drawn. And when the Packers, during the opening drive contest, when they end up, picking up a yard or 2 or 5 or whatever, for every yard garnered, you get $10. If they score, you get $500. Good stuff from our friends over there at Quick Trip. And all you got to do is go in and get what you need anyway. But you got to use the Quick Rewards card. Got to use the Quick Rewards card over there for our friends at Quick Trip. Stay tuned. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. It's coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket, this is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Cool weather, brisk winds, and a hot deal. Hi, this is Gina Della from Pella. Is your home ready for winter weather? Don't wait. Right now, put no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 2 years. When it's cold outside, thanks to Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, you'll be warm and toasty inside. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin can be installed in as little as a day, with little to no disruption to your family or your home. Plus, you'll get expert advice from our Pella specialists, professional installation by Pella's certified installers, and the excellent service our customers have come to expect. And Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin has products and warranty offers you won't find anywhere else. Don't wait for the heating bills to start piling up. Right now, put no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 2 years at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Visit PellaWI.com today.
Expires 11/30/2022. Certain exclusions and restrictions apply. See showroom for details.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Good to have you. Bill Michaels Show. We continue on. 877-867-1670. You want to hit us up, please feel free to go ahead and do so. I saw our buddy Ryan DeStefano and the gang from Wabam, W-A-B-A-M, out at SEMA, out in Vegas for the SEMA Car Show, which is one of the biggest in the country. And a nice display and making a lot of contacts. But the little engine that could, right out of Wisconsin, right out of Colgate, Wisconsin, continues to grow. And they're out there doing their thing at SEMA and the car show out in Vegas this past week. So, again, I have been telling you about it, whether it's industrial products for something, say, to clean up around the shop. Maybe it's janitorial products that you need for your business or for your home, for that matter. Or if you're talking about cars and boats and side-by-sides, UTVs, ATVs, motorcycles, whatever it happens to be, they got products for everybody and they're proprietary blends. So, which means they own the formulas. There's not a whole lot of that stuff that's out there. So go to getwabam.com. So many people, detailers now swear by this stuff. Go to getwabam.com. Getwabam, W-A-B-A-M, getwabam.com. This one's from Sean, who says, Bill, Packers are in salary cap hell. That, as much as anything, prevented any trade unless you're dumping cap space for the next year. No way they could take on more cap money. Well, you're going to be dumping space next year anyway. You have to. You have to figure some things out because you're already $2 to $3 million over the cap. This year going into this offseason, Ben, what were they? Were like 40 million or 30 million over the cap going into the offseason, right? It was
Yeah,
like
I
some
think
crazy
so.
number. So if they're 15 million, 18 million, 22 million, whatever, it is what it is. Nothing prevents you completely from doing anything. You can do whatever you want to do. And don't forget, okay, because I know the Brandon Cooks thing with 18 million guaranteed. I get that. But first of all, it's 9 million this year. So let's start right there because it was 9 million because you're only paying them half for half a season. Then it's whatever Houston will be willing to take on. Maybe they weren't willing to take anything on. Therefore, that deal wasn't made. I'm not saying, going back to what Brad said, Chase Claypool might have been a little bit high for a second-round draft choice. Yes, the Packers offered that. The Bears offered the same. They figured the Bears pick would be higher because the Bears are going to win less games than the Green Bay Packers. Okay, I get it. If I'm the Packers, I go 2-7. 2-7. To get a guy that's proven right now. Is he your number one? As of right now, he is. He's better than anything you have. Get him acclimated, get him in the system, get it going right now, get it ready for next year. Even if it doesn't win you a championship this year. Right? And plus, he's on a rookie deal. You only owe him $1 million next year. It made sense. But there are times when you hang on to the unknown, figuring you're going to make gold out of chicken stuff. And it's always been mind-numbing to me when you've got a proven player in one hand and the future of an uncertainty in the other. How many guys' egos will say, oh, no, that uncertainty, I'm going to turn that into gold. And I'm going to let this guy go. You got to be pretty big balls to say, I'm better than that. When your track record shows you're not. 877-867-1670. If you want to hit us up, do it. 2 second-round picks for a rookie. No, I wouldn't have gone 2, but I would have gone 1. Plus a 7th. That's what I would have done. Absolutely. I mean, the question then becomes, okay, you don't want to make the deal because you don't want to what? Lose your draft pick? Again, that goes back to the fact that you are unbelievably confident that draft pick is going to amount to something incredible. Right? 877-867-1670. Hit us up.
Bill, the biggest thing sitting with me wrong right now, aside from the lack of moves that were done yesterday,
give it to me,
is the fact that Brian Gutekunst isn't speaking today.
Yeah, I think
Matt LaFleur is at the podium right now trying to take the questions of what his GM did not do to bolster the team, or maybe the missteps he's had in the last 2 years to bolster the team around Aaron Rodgers. He's not speaking today, which I think is kind of a joke.
I would agree. I would agree. Why didn't you? Then again, you know what? It saves us from a day of cliche. Right? Is he going to tell you, yeah, we were in on this guy. Yeah, I called that guy. Yeah, we were going to trade this. Yeah, we were going to trade that. We were willing to do this. A day of cliche. I mean, if you're going to come out and talk and actually be honest about something, that's one thing. That's the only thing that drives me nuts. It's all red China. It's after the fact. It's after the fact. You can come out and say whatever now, but it's all after the fact. I mean, it's done. It's not like you're suddenly giving away state secrets. You can come out and say, yeah, we were willing to do this. We didn't get a call back. We would have liked to, or, hey, had we had a chance to up our deal? Yeah, we probably would have done it. Or the question then becomes, why didn't you try harder? Why wasn't there more than 1 or 2 or 3 guys that you were in on? And if you were, how deep did you go? Give us the reasoning for not making a deal. And don't you dare say we're happy with our room. Because Packers fans are not that stupid. You would be the only one in the state of Wisconsin saying that. I would agree.
As a radio producer, though, I kind of want those cuts. I kind of want the little
cliche.
drop in that would come. I just, I'm starting to warm up to LaFleur because he's giving me more to put on the drop board and to keep saved away for certain occasions.
Sure.
I need more from Goody in that regard. So it's a very selfish way of looking at it.
The cliches are flowing, no doubt. David says, "Come on, Bill, don't forget those trades are just silly. Remember, right? Yep, I would agree.
I know.
Yep. Tom says there's no accountability at 1265 to anybody as long as the games sell out. Packers merchandise keeps selling, and the Titletown district stays full. Nothing changes. It's all about the profits, not Super Bowls anymore in Green Bay." This one, who's this one from? Brian says 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks have covered up the inept front office for 30 plus years now. 2 Super Bowl titles in that span shows how pathetic they really are. The Packers are still playing off the glory years of Lombardi and the Ice Bowl. Give the fans in division championship and above 500 records every year. Throw in some NFC championship games every now and then and get lucky with a Super Bowl title or 2. Packer fans will be happy with that. That's the team motto. This one's from Tidbit, who says we actually have to listen to LaFleur again. I'd rather have Ben just play "My Baloney Has a First Name, It's OSCAR," and never just insert Matt or Barry for Oscar and go from there.
I'm the positive Pete right now.
Mo Drayton, he's being hurt. He's a positive Pete. He's a positive Pete. By the way, Matt Schneidman says, "Yep, Gutekunst not available." And LaFleur says he's not going to talk about the trade deadline. Just, all right. Do you not realize, is there anybody inside the walls at 1265? You are getting killed. Killed. And are you asleep at the wheel? It's, look, it's okay. Myself, Matt Schneidman, Ben excluded, okay? Just don't listen to us. The fans want to know what the hell's going on. You are owned by the people. Are you just waiting for next year's stockholder meeting to think, wow, if we just shut our mouths, it'll pass by? Nobody will ask about it. Well, I'll be rejuvenated and buying Rodgers jerseys and pens and pencils and stuff. We'll forget about it. Come on.
Bill, I do have a 20-minute video on the Packers YouTube of Jordy Nelson talking about being inducted to the Hall of Fame.
Oh.
We could play that in the 1 o'clock
That
hour.
broke yesterday, quite conveniently.
Oh, look. Jordy's coming. Jordy's coming. Oh, my God. Yes. Oh, God. Oh, somebody run quick. Give me a change of pants.
I was kind of wound up yesterday, wasn't I? Oh, my God. So LaFleur doesn't want to talk about the trade deadline. Gutekunst doesn't want to show his face. All right. Okay.
This is where radio becomes therapy, Bill.
Yeah.
For you, for me, for
Yeah.
everyone listening.
I'll tell you this. The Emperor not only doesn't have any clothes, it looks like he's been swimming in a cold pool. Just.
The Emperor owes money in back taxes.
Yes.
That's where we are
Yeah.
today.
Greg says, what is he going to talk about? You just come out and explain why, with all the expectations being so high for this team, where the failures have come. Maybe the midterm State of the Union, so to speak, as the general manager of a football team. Nothing more. And, Darian, you're right. Darian says, it doesn't matter. It's all red China. We'll get a bunch of cliches and nothing of ever substance. I'll give the Packers credit because they do speak. They do come out. They do take questions. They make it longer than many other teams. I get that. But I don't say a whole lot. Rodgers says a whole lot. Rodgers is very calculated. Sometimes you just got to listen enough to what Rodgers says to understand where he's going with the conversation. We finally feel like the Packers. We finally had a good week of practice. In other words, it hasn't been good behind the walls of 1265. That's, I don't know if he's sticking up for and making a case for his coach, or he's saying, hey, the coach finally figured it out after 8 weeks into this season and scrambling and trying to cover his own ass and trying to look like a deer in the headlights and actually running the football and doing things that, are substance in practice. After I had to call guys out to say, look, if these guys aren't getting the job done, quit, kind of wimping out and go after them and talk about players' reps and guys sitting. Oh, okay. Maybe that's what we ought to do.
Oh, that's not a real huge story.
No. Oh, Tom says, at least I have one thing I don't have to look forward to, and that's heartbreak in January. Robert says, any chance the Steelers ask Claypool his team preference? No, zero. Not as a rookie. Nope. They got what they wanted. Off goes the move. They think, now here's the irony in all of this. Let's just say Claypool comes in, Justin Fields has a target to throw to. Their offensive line does just enough, and Justin Fields runs his way to 6 or 7 wins. Maybe 8. Getting crazy on you now. Maybe 8 wins on the season. Think about that for a minute. And let's say the Packers end up with 7. And the Bears have a worse draft pick than the Green Bay Packers. Then we can at least point at the Steelers and go, ha, joke's on you. We suck more. Brian wants to know how many fingers of whiskey Rodgers probably had last night. I'd have to go one of those big Yeti cups. I don't know how many fingers it holds. Right now, the only finger that's wagging is the middle one, and that's from the Packers to the fans going, no, we're not getting anybody. Come on. What you crying about? Go buy a jersey. Stay tuned. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. It's all coming up next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Here they come, the holidays. What to get the special people in your life? Good food? Better yet, great meat. Go to ScholzieFamilyBeef.com. That's ScholzieFamilyBeef.com.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
You got to hit it back.
Good to have you back. Hey, our friends at Forgotten Fire Winery say that, hey, you want to drink those Packers problems away? You can do that. Some good wine always made from a Wisconsin group of people right there in Peshtigo, Wisconsin. It's always a good way to go. And however you want to enjoy it, especially with the holidays coming up, start stocking up now on your favorites. So whether it's Pinot Grigio, Rieslings, Moscatos, Merlots, Cabs, whatever it happens to be, they got it. And some of it's even award-winning. Although they don't really kind of rest on their laurels on something like that. They just make it for people who just enjoy. So, and it's not crazy expensive. That's the best part about it. Get a hold of our friends at ForgottenFireWinery.com. That's ForgottenFireWinery.com. Ask for it by name. Grocery stores, liquor stores, wine stores. You will not go wrong. I'm telling you. And if you stop in to the winery in Peshtigo, Wisconsin, which is not huge. It's just, small building, and they do their own thing there. And go in and ask Jake. Say, hey, Jake, I heard it on the Bill Michaels show. And they'll give you the wine tasting and everything right there. All complimentary. Compliments of our good friends at Forgotten Fire Wine. Forgotten Fire Wine, great stuff. Made by Wisconsin people for those around us. Good stuff. Let's go to our buddy L, listening to us in Philadelphia. L, what's happening, man? How's the therapy going today after nothing happening yesterday?
Horrible. How you doing, by the way?
I'm doing good, man.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting nothing really to happen anyway, and I was expecting, what I did expect was an excuse as to what he tried to get and didn't have enough assets, didn't put enough up. And I mean, it came right down the pipe. I mean, true fruition like I thought it would. I mean, you give up a second round pick, and I mean, I can understand Pittsburgh's stance. They want to get the best pick possible, but at the same time, like you said, why can't you just ask, well, okay, what else do I need to give you? Or is there anything else that you might want? Or just anything else that's just, you that arrogant to think that you just want to get what you want to get and then wait to the last minute to try to do it? I don't get these guys, man. I just really don't. So,
I don't either.
It's ridiculous, man. Like, I mean, first of all, they fooled all of us thinking that this roster was going to be inept enough to go ahead and challenge for a championship going into the season. And as you see, it's not. There was no true cohesion between the wide receivers and Aaron Rodgers or the offense altogether. We see that now. And not just that, also, again, I spoke on this yesterday. You go into a game where the game plan is to run the ball. You got two of the best backs combo in the league. He only run the ball 10 to 12 times a game. It doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
You got a coach that when you ask him questions, he doesn't know how to answer them because he doesn't know the answer to them, I guess. I don't know. And then to top all that off, now you got to deal with, these games coming up and the fact that we haven't tooled up or anything. But I do want to speak on the defense, though. So I remember it might have been a year or two ago. As a matter of fact, it was 2 years ago. That's when Mike Pettin was still here. I remember the defense struggling, and I think this is when we had Zadarius. Zadarius went in along with the guys and spoke with Mike Pettin and told him basically to unleash us and let us go.
Yeah.
And then the defense changed, basically got it together and came together and, was playing solid football. Do you think the same thing could probably happen with them, with Joe Barry? I mean, I know we don't have a leader like Zadarius on the defensive side of the ball, but I hear reports that a lot of the players are complaining about his play call and then it's like a scheme and what he's doing. Do you think that might possibly happen to help put like a fire up under him?
Yeah, you know what? If they're saying it behind closed doors, if you're kind of chirping in the media, it doesn't go over well. But if you're saying it behind closed doors and moves are being made and Matt LaFleur has been aware of this, then yeah, I think they can make some changes and maybe get a little bit better and such and kind of play the way they want. I mean, they have changed to a certain extent. They are playing a little more press. They're also playing a little more man. We see it time and again. But it's still some of the things that they do, you just question, like, why are you doing this? You got Rasul Douglas, instead of being on the outside, he's on the inside. You've got Jair, who's better in slot and can cover some of the number one wide receivers, but sometimes they kind of want him to play a zone, and and then you're playing 10 yards off the ball on a 3rd and 6, and I wonder why. And the personnel up front, the rotation up front. There's a lot of things you can legitimately question about this defense.
Agreed. Thank you.
All right, buddy. Talk to you soon. That's L listening to us in Philly. By the way, Ben, when he called, did you ask him if he was a Phillies fan?
Oh, yes. We've discussed it.
Yeah?
Oh, 100%.
Okay. Just checking.
Yeah.
Big night last night. You guys had power flowing last evening.
Oh, brother. Yeah, the city's on fire.
Once Kyle Schwarber starts hitting home runs, it's you got destiny written all over it now.
Oh, the whole team is going off this postseason.
Yeah.
They just got to figure out the top end of the rotation. I'm actually going to be flying home this weekend to either watch game 6 and 7 at home or hopefully for a parade. So
yeah,
big, either the greatest or worst weekend of my life potential.
All right. And nothing wrong with that, man. Go home with all kinds of hope. Have you ever been a part of now? Were you there when the last time they won the series?
Yes, I was.
And did you go to the celebration? Were you climbing a pole?
I went to the celebration. I was not climbing a pole. I was with my mother. She probably made sure that, my 10-year-old self did not become fully, on a pole.
Yeah, I was going to say, you were kind of young at that point in time, so it's been a little while. But, I remember being a kid in 75 and 76. I didn't go to the 75 celebration after the Reds beat the Sox. I didn't do that, but I did because I was only like 9 years old. But in 76, I remember my mom took me down to Fountain Square when the team came home after sweeping the Yankees. And I do remember that. And that was when Sparky Anderson called Johnny Bench Sugar Bear and introduced Sugar Bear, and the place went crazy. I'll never forget that. I was my mom and dad were there, and my dad had put me on a mailbox, and I was standing on a mailbox holding on to the pole next to me, the telephone pole. And I stood on top of a mailbox and watched the celebration. I'll never forget that. Never forget that. Mom bringing cowbells. All these people had cowbells and everything. Cowbells were crazy down there.
Were the poles properly lubed?
They were not lubricated. They were wood, and they had splinters in them where, guys had climbed them with those spike things in their shoes. They were not metal yet downtown. So we didn't have the metal poles. We had the wooden ones that were implanted into the concrete. So I remember that. Going to a victory celebration like that, it's nothing to forget, man. It's, sometimes you think about it and you're like, this is great, especially when you were a kid. Like, I can't wait for the next one. And then you think, as you get to your adulthood, you're thinking, boy, are we ever going to see this again? So, yeah, if you get it, man, go enjoy it. By all means.
Yeah, I don't want to get ahead of myself here.
I know. Don't get crazy.
Kind of preparing. My dad grew up a Red Sox fan, and he went home for game 6 and 7 in 1986 when the Red Sox should have won and had it in the bag, and then Buckner happened. So that's it. He actually texted me that this morning. And I said, I know. I'm fully prepared for sadness.
Always prepping for the worst. Well, welcome to Wisconsin, where it seems to be the prevalent thought running through many. We'll get there, but we're not going to win it. You know, people said that about the Bucks, and then the Bucks certainly pulled it off. So kudos to them. And the Bucks right now are one of the preeminent thoughts for winning a championship this year. And Giannis already early on, in the way too early to predict MVP chase, Giannis is already running away with it by many accounts. So maybe the season of rest after the hangover from winning a championship a couple of years ago, maybe the season of rest, the off season, gave them the rejuvenation for the batteries, and they're off to a fast start, undefeated, back at it again tonight. There you go. Hey, speaking of tonight, we got the huddle tonight. Going to be down at the Mecca Sports Bar and Grill in the Deer District. Come on down tonight. We'll be down there 6 to 8. Game starts at 7. So if you want to come down and catch some of the pregame with us, talking football, and then afterwards you head over to the Fiserv Forum and check out the Bucks and the Pistons tonight in Game 2 of that back-to-back with a day off in between. Come on down. We'll be at the Mecca Sports Bar and Grill tonight, 6 to 8, brought to you by our friends at Bud Light. They are the official beer sponsor of the Bill Michaels Sports Talk Network. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
One of the worst things that you can hear, you have cancer. The worst is when you hear the words, your child has cancer. When a child is diagnosed with cancer, it changes their world. Sometimes they can't even do things that they really love, like playing soccer, riding a bike, going to prom, attending school. Children with cancer spend a lot of time away from others. I'm in the hospital, treatments, tired, nauseous, and they feel isolated. That's where Special Spaces Wisconsin steps in. They provide these children with a special space where they can not only sleep, but they can play, they can heal, they can spend time away from the challenges of their illness. It's a customized bedroom designed just for them. How about a princess castle or a pirate ship or a sports-themed bedroom? They transform that child's existing bedroom into a place that only he or she can imagine, a place for them just to be a kid. This effort is done with teams of dedicated volunteers and sponsors, just like our friends from Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin and all the community partners. If you'd like to find out more or to donate, go to specialspaces.org. That is specialspaces.org.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, in Green Bay, here's Mike Clemens.
The NFL trade deadline passed with no deals for the Packers. Steelers wide receiver Chase Claypool went to the Bears, although a number of networks say that Green Bay did offer as high as a second-round pick. The Packers play the Lions in Detroit Sunday at 3-5. Aaron Rodgers says they can still turn things around.
There's a lot of teams in that 4-4, 3-5 range. You still have 9 games left. There's a lot to play for. Obviously, this is an important stretch for us coming up because we got division opponent, and then we have 2 games in a week with Dallas, who's obviously playing well, and then Tennessee is playing well. Both games at home, which is great. But, it's November football now. The weather's continuing to turn, and we need to be playing our best football moving forward.
Rodgers on the McAfee show. Jair Alexander asked, did he ever imagine the Packers would have a 4-game losing streak at this point of the season, and can they overcome it?
Honestly, in this league, everything happens so fast, so you really got to push it to the back. You really got to be critical of yourself and then on to the next game. That's what I'm going to do.
Is it surprising to you, though, that you guys have 4 straight losses and haven't been able to
Yeah, it is surprising. I feel like we got a really good team, really good defense. So, yeah, it is surprising.
There's been some reports of some of the Packers players complaining about the defensive game plan during the stretch. Head coach Matt LaFleur.
It's impossible to please everybody. Everybody has their own opinions, their own ideas. It's like anything else in life. You have to get the staff on the same page first and foremost, making sure that everybody is confident in the plan, and then you teach it to the players.
That's Packers head coach Matt LaFleur. In Green Bay, I'm Mike Clemens on the Bill Michaels Show.
I'm doing the best that we can today, and then work on tomorrow and taking it one game at a time. And that's the approach that we've taken since day one. I know we're in a little bit of a hole right now, but the approach is not going to change in terms of the mindset. We've got an NFC North opponent that they know us well. We know them well. There's been some great battles. They beat us last year in Ford Field at their place in the last game of the regular season. So, you can throw the records out the window, in my opinion. I mean, it's the NFL. It doesn't matter who you play. If you don't play your best, you're going to get your ass kicked.
Well, there you go. Not much he can say, right? (877-867-1670), 877-867-1670. There you have it. There you have it. He goes to the. You're going to hear Matt LaFleur coming up after the top of the hour, by the way. Just an FYI. Going to hear it because it's a conversation in which he, well, for lack of a better term, he was thrown to the wolves, and Brian Gutekunst did not take the podium today to say what they did and didn't do. So just throwing it out there. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends over there, New Mail Medical, treating guys with ED all over the state of Wisconsin, well beyond the borders as well. All you got to do is call 414-455-4451. 414-455-4451. That's the New Mail Medical Center. Give them a shout, whether it's for ED, weight loss, low testosterone. Go get your numbers checked. If you're over the age of 30, supplements, vitamin, whatever it is you need, they can help you out. Balance that body back up. Good stuff from our friends over at New Mail Medical. Like I said, coming up after the top of the hour, we're going to hear from Matt LaFleur and what he had to say today at the podium just a little while ago. And this one is from Ash. Ash says, I just can't believe the Packers didn't do anything. In a year in which you only have the closet door closing on the career of Aaron Rodgers, why would you then sign him if you're not going to do anything? We've been talking about this for a while. I completely agree. I get it. You sign Jair, you sign Bakhtiari, you sign Rodgers. You're spending this money. You bring Rodgers back for $50 million a year. You know that Devontae leaves. You know you're going to need some help. I get the Sammy Watkins thing was kind of throwing a dart at a dartboard, but I don't know. I don't get it. But who am I? I'm a voice in the wilderness, man. That's it. We got another hour yet to go. You're going to hear from the head coach of the Green Bay Packers. Philosophically speaking, now what? It's Lions Week, my friends. Lions Week. Here come those Lions, who sons of bucks. Yeah, boy. When was the last time that you and I ever thought to ourselves, holy crap, legitimately, they could lose to the Lions? Now, we always know going into Detroit, not the easiest place to play. But for the most part, you're always favored. You're always thinking, this will win. This will win, right? Even with Jeff Janis on the team, that Hail Mary, December 3rd. Come on, right? Not this time. Now you're going, holy crap, we could lose to the Vikings. Good guy. Good God. More to come coming up right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Packers going to play with the team they've got. That's after GM Brian Gutekunst decided or was unable to make a move at the trade deadline to bolster a roster that has the team sitting at 3-5 on the year. Packers were reportedly in the running for Pittsburgh wide receiver Chase Claypool, but he ended up going to the Bears instead. ESPN reported the Packers also looking to add at tight end, but nothing came from that. It means Coach Matt LaFleur and his coaching staff going to have to get things figured out with the players already on the roster.
As a whole, as a team, we have to play better complementary football, and then we might not be having this conversation. It hasn't been consistent at all. It's like one side is doing it, the other side isn't. You got to play complementary football and understand that there's going to be some moments where one side of the ball may be struggling. That's where the other side of the ball has to kind of pick it up.
Packers going to finish off a 3-game road trip this Sunday when they head to Detroit to face the 1-6 Lions. Kick is at noon. Turning to Wisconsin, they are going to welcome Maryland to town this Saturday. Badgers favored by 5, but the Terrapins haven't played some good football, has them sitting at 6-2 overall on the year. Wisconsin still needs 2 more wins to become bowl eligible. Kick on Saturday morning is set for 11 a.m.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Get insurance from a company who knows Wisconsin and cares about your community. You may know Rural Mutual Insurance as the #1 farm insurer, but did you know they also offer competitive home and auto rates? Visit ruralmutual.com to learn more about products and discounts.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Bucs will look to keep their unbeaten season going tonight as they take on the Pistons for a second straight game. Milwaukee 6-0, the only team without a loss in the NBA and their best start since 2018. Tip tonight at Fiserv Forum set for 7. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heilprin.
Welcome back. This is the final hour of the Bill Michaels Show. Good to have you this afternoon. Don't forget, coming up tonight, we're going to be live down at the Deer District inside the Mecca Sports Bar and Grill tonight, 6 to 8. The Bill Michaels Huddle, brought to you by our friends at Bud Light. Cannot wait to get down there tonight. You got Bucs basketball as well, so that Deer District's going to be kind of alive. Come on by. If you're heading down to the game tonight, come on by early. Maybe you're going to go to the Mecca just to watch the game. Come on by. Come on by and hang out with us. We're going to have a good time tonight. Anytime we sit down and talk a lot of football, it's always good. The huddles are always fun. They fly by. Last half hour, we're doing our picks throughout the rest of the National Football League, starting with tomorrow night's contest. So we got a lot of good stuff coming up tonight. Good stuff. Speaking of good stuff, I've been waiting for this all day. I know it's crazy. I don't know if I'm waiting for this because I think it's going to be a cliched Phil Red China joke, or if it's because I'm actually going to begin to feel sorry for Matt LaFleur having to go to the podium because of the way the season is going. But I'm looking for any indication as to what's going on behind the scenes. Matt LaFleur at the podium a little while ago. Take a listen to what the head coach of the Packers had to say.
Will Devondre, Elton, or Allen practice today?
I'm trying to Rolodex that in my head right now. Devondre, Allen, I believe, yes, Allen will be out there.
He's the only one of the three that will be out
I
there.
believe, yeah. I'll be honest with you. Just got out of meetings. Haven't gotten the update from Flea. We always meet in the morning at 7 a.m. prior to all these guys coming in the building. So I just haven't swum by the training room.
Man, when so many teams around the league are making moves yesterday and you guys don't, just what's that like from your perspective? Is it disappointing at all?
I'll be honest with you. When I'm up there, it's like, what are we doing to put our team in the best position possible to go game plan and put our guys in the spot to go execute and beat a team that we know is going to give us everything they can. And we've struggled at Ford Field many times. And this is a really good offense, and they play extremely hard in all three phases. And so, I mean, that's where my focus is.
What gives you confidence that y'all can kind of turn this around and bounce back from what the last few weeks done with what y'all have been?
I think, we've displayed at times some good level of football, but it's just been too inconsistent. And I don't think it's been complimentary football all the time, and we realize it's an imperfect game when one side of the ball isn't maybe producing like you would like, the other side's got to pick it up, or we have to do it on defense. So it's all the complementary parts. But I think there's been times when we have displayed winning football. We've got to be more consistent. And I think everybody's got to dial in a little bit tighter and focus a little bit harder, be very intentional about how we practice, the practice habits we're forming. And, I'm a big believer that if your process is right and you're out there going about your work in a very intentional manner, that it's going to lead to better results. So.
Hey, Matt, game planning is part of your job. The other part of it, though, is obviously the locker room and getting guys, rolling in the same direction. What was your message to the guys, especially when I'm sure there are some that were hoping you would make some moves yesterday and you guys as a team didn't? What's your messaging to your players if there's some that are unhappy or disappointed?
Yeah, we didn't even get into that. Our focus was on Detroit, and again, an NFC North opponent who's averaged 35 points a game at home, and they're one of the top offenses in the league. I think they're fourth in yards. I want to say they might be I think they're number one in explosive plays. Got a lot of familiarity with a lot of their players. And so it's going to be a great challenge. And then you cut on the defensive side of the film and you see these guys, they play with unbelievable effort and urgency. And so I know that we've got to play complementary football, and we've got to be really consistent in order to come out on top.
So you don't think that that's something you have to address with your guys? You think they kind of?
No, everybody has a responsibility to one another to be their best, whatever that is. And you got to be locked into, and if you're worried about things that are outside of your control, I think you're doing everybody a disservice. So I think that's where the focus should lie and will lie.
With that said, you guys had a decision to make this spring as an organization, whether or not you want to start a rebuild or go forward with Aaron. Obviously, you guys chose the second to kind of keep this window going. When you're 3-5, you've lost 4 straight. Don't you need to make a move to jumpstart something?
Well, we need to win games, and we need to do whatever it takes to win games. I don't think anybody's happy with where we're at. I know I'm certainly not, and I don't think anybody in that locker room is. But if we focus on things that are irrelevant, what good are we doing? We got to focus on the task at hand, and that we need everybody in that locker room to be whatever their best is. And that's all I'll ask of anybody, is just it's the attitude, how they prepare, the effort they give on a consistent basis, whether it's in the classroom, whether it's on the field, how focused they are in the individual drills, how focused they are in the team drills, being a great teammate, just all the things that you can control. That's where our attention lies.
Did you press for something though, as far as the trade deadline? Or I realized you have one.
I was up there game planning and getting ready for Detroit, so I did not know.
Okay, because I know you've said 8,000 times that you and Goody are in constant communication. I was thinking maybe it came up at some point or another that, I wish we could have X, Y, or Z.
Yeah, I mean, we always talk, so.
Hey, Matt, we talked on Monday about how much you ran the ball and how well it worked. Based on Von Miller's conversation with your quarterback, maybe he didn't quite enjoy as many handoffs as there were. But do you think you found something that if you can be a little more balanced, you kind of showed that when this team runs the ball and this offense is going to be successful, it needs that component? Do you think you discovered something by playing that way?
Well, I mean, I think every game you've heard me say this a million times, every game might have a different feel to it. The bottom line is this game is about scoring more than your opponent. And right now we're not scoring enough points. So I think there's a combination in there? Absolutely. I think we have to be, there's got to be a little bit of a threat of, hey, we're going to keep you off balance. You don't know exactly what we're going to do. Because I do think when defenses zero in and they know exactly what's coming, there's a good chance they're going to stop you. It's just too competitive of a league. So I think there's got to be balance. We just got to, when we have those opportunities, we got to finish drives. And third down comes to mind. Fourth down, we haven't been very good this year. Some of it, we haven't put our guys in the best position. I realize that. And so that's what we're always trying to do, is just put these guys in the best position possible. And hopefully we can go out there and execute at a higher level, but we have to score more points.
Is Aaron's thumb, I'm sorry, go ahead. Is Aaron's thumb at a point where you can put him under center more?
We'll see. I think, I always look at the efficiency, under center, gun. Like I said before, like every game plan could be a little bit different, but our efficiency in the gun's been pretty solid for the majority of the season. In fact, in some of the personnel groupings, our gun plays have been more effective than our under center plays. So as long as there is plays that play off one another, I don't really think it totally matters. But that's something we're always looking at.
Hey, Matt, going back to what Jason asked you about the running game, how much would it help you to be able to do that if you can get ahead early on? And why do you think you guys aren't quite starting fast?
That's a great question. If I had the answer, we wouldn't be in this spot.
Though, if you got ahead, would you be able to implement more of that running stuff and it be,
Yeah, for sure. Again, to me, it's always as best we can. You try to approach just no different than we talk to our team about. You try to approach it with hey, don't worry about the scoreboard, 0-0. Now I know that's impossible. And at times you have to take that into consideration, especially if you're way behind late in the game, or if you're up late in the game and everybody might know you're going to run it and you still run it. So, but I think we always try to reset after every series, and go with the most advantageous looks or whatever it may be to try to, up the probability of us having success within a certain play.
I don't know if you would consider this balanced, but there's been some games like last week, like week 2 against the Bears, where it's been pretty run heavy, and then other weeks where it's been more pass and the run game is kind of come and gone. Have you arrived at a point through 8 games where this offense needs to be run first every week?
Not necessarily. No, I think, if somebody's going to commit a bunch of bodies to the box, it just makes it difficult. I mean, it happened last week, right? In the 4th down, it was like a punt rush. So I think you got to kind of see how teams are playing you and certainly we'd like to establish a run, but it's not just, you're not always going to stick a square peg in a round hole. You got to do what's ever best to put your guys in the best position possible. And we're fortunate that we have, a quarterback that obviously is a Hall of Famer and can, make some unbelievable plays. And I thought he did that when we started throwing it towards the end of the game.
They fired their defensive backs coach on Monday, I think it was. Does that throw a wrinkle into your game planning, or do you expect them to do what they've been doing all year?
Well, I think if, you look at Aaron Glenn's background, he's been a defensive back coach and prior to being a coordinator. So I don't know how necessarily it'll affect it. I think just studying them, there seems to be a different theme depending upon who they're playing, where like Miami was a little bit different than how they played Dallas, which was a little different than how they played the Vikings. So every game has had kind of its own, I don't know, however they want to scheme it up,
The injured reserve rule changes this year, having the 4-game minimum, only being able to bring back 8 guys. Do you have any problem with those rule changes? Would you like it to go back to the way it was, or does it make any difference to you?
Again, that's out of my control.
You said earlier that you turn on Detroit film and you see urgency on that, especially on the defense. Is that missing for you guys at all when you watch your own team? Do you see a lack of urgency at times?
Not necessarily. I see some mistakes that we're making. That's something that you're always trying to stress and ensure that you're getting from everybody, is because that's all. I really truly believe that you can only ask for max effort. I mean, some guys are going to make mistakes out there. To me, did you make a mistake going 100 miles an hour? And if the answer is yes, then you correct the mistake, you move on. But yeah, as far as if we got guys loafing, yeah, that's a problem. But I don't necessarily think that's the case.
Do you believe in a now or never approach? 3 and 6 would be a pretty tough hill to climb. Do you use that at all?
Nope. I believe in doing the best that we can today and then work on tomorrow and taking it one game at a time. And that's the approach that we've taken since day one. And I know we're in a little bit of a hole right now, but the approach is not going to change in terms of the mindset. We've got an NFC North opponent that they know us well. We know them well. There's been some great battles. They beat us last year in Ford Field at their place in the last game of the regular season. So, you can throw the records out the window in my opinion. I mean, it's the NFL. It doesn't matter who you play. If you don't play your best, you're going to get your ass kicked. Bottom line.
I know guys well, Jamal Williams, I think 8 touchdown runs already this season. Just what sticks out from what you see of him now, and how has he kind of developed since he got there?
I think it's more or less the opportunity. I think he's had more opportunities there, and he's done a great job with it. So Jamal's a guy that I got so much respect for. I love how just his whole approach, how he brought energy every day. He did everything he could. He was a great teammate. He's tough. He's tough as nails. And, I'm happy for him. I just hope he doesn't have a great game versus us.
Hey man, back to your run game just for a second. You gave DeGuara 30 snaps the other night, which I think was double his season high. Was his blocking as good as it's been? Was that why he got so many snaps?
Yeah, I think it was a product of a lot of things, but it was part of the game plan in terms of how we thought to best approach that game. And I thought he did an outstanding job.
Matt, on Sunday, Lions are up 24-17 with about a minute before the half, and they go with a fake punt. And it seems like when I watch the Lions, does Dan like to roll the dice a couple times a game like that?
Yeah, I think they've had 2 fake punts fake punts this year. And then I know they had a surprise onside week 1. So, we got a lot of trick plays a year ago when we played them. So I think the antenna's got to be up really in every phase. I think you look at them defensively, they can all out blitz you at any moment, and it showed up in every game. So I think you always got to be on high alert for any of that stuff.
Follow up on Rob's question about first starts. For most of your time here, you guys have been really good at the start of games. I know if you knew what the problem was, you'd fix it, but are you looking at your process any differently? Or are you saying, hey, this is something we've done well before, we just need to find the right kind of combination, or how do you view it?
Yeah, I think you're always evaluating your process. I think if you don't, things naturally evolve over time. And if you're not willing to evolve and you're stuck in, oh, this is the way we've always done it, then you never grow. So we are constantly looking at our process, and, if somebody comes up with a idea on how to do it better, I don't really care whose idea it is. It's what's best for us. And so, but yeah, I think that, we'll be in big trouble if we take that approach where this is how we've always done it.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
There you go. Matt LaFleur talking to the media today. A few things to chew on when we come back. Stay tuned. We got a lot more. The Bill Michaels Show. It's all coming up, and it's coming up right after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
One of the worst things that you can hear, you have cancer. The worst is when you hear the words, your child has cancer. When a child is diagnosed with cancer, it changes their world. Sometimes they can't even do things that they really love, like playing soccer, riding a bike, going to prom, attending school. Children with cancer spend a lot of time away from others. I'm in the hospital, treatments, tired, nauseous, and they feel isolated. That's where Special Spaces Wisconsin steps in. They provide these children with a special space where they can not only sleep, but they can play, they can heal, they can spend time away from the challenges of their illness. It's a customized bedroom designed just for them. How about a princess castle or a pirate ship or a sports themed bedroom? They transform that child's existing bedroom into a place that only he or she can imagine. A place for them just to be a kid. This effort is done with teams of dedicated volunteers and sponsors, just like our friends from Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin and all the community partners. If you'd like to find out more or to donate, go to specialspaces.org. That is specialspaces.org.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Aaron's thumb at a point where you can put him under center more.
We'll see. I think, I mean, like I always look at the efficiency, you know, under center gun. Like I said before, like every game plan could be a little bit different, but our efficiency in the gun's been pretty solid for the majority of the season. In fact, in some of the personnel groupings, our gun plays have been more effective than our under center plays. So,
welcome back. What? What? Okay. The under the gun play has been more efficient. Maybe that's because you're mixing it up more, but when you're standing in the gun the entire time, I don't want to say it's been more efficient. Maybe it's the lesser of two evils, but I find that almost hard to believe. Then again, when you run, at least at one point, you know, 80% to 90% of your offense in the gun, yeah, you're probably going to have more success in the gun. So I'm not going to argue with the statistic, but I just know what the eyeball test says. When he said that and came out and defended it, I'm like, did you just watch the game that you called where Aaron Rodgers was under center more than he probably has been all season? The success you had at running the football, the different looks, the way you were able to freeze defenses because of his movement in the pocket, coming out from under center versus in the gun. You know, don't get me wrong, you had some success in the gun. I'm not going to deny that. But when you mix it up, you're better. When you go 90% gun, you're not. And this is not coming from just myself. This is from people in the industry. As I watch almost every morning, people are breaking down the Packers offense and what's the problem. And, you know, they talk about repetitiveness. They talk about lack of creativity, being in the gun consistently, you know, obviously why you do it. But instead of correcting the problem that forces you into the gun, you just go to the gun. You acquiesce to the lesser of two evils, and therefore you become insufficient when it comes to running your offense. So a lot to be said there. A lot to be said there. Then he was asked about, I don't know if you caught it, but he was asked about the trade deadline. So the question was, hey, Matt, with the trade deadline, and he talks about, what were you looking for? What do you need? And instead of addressing the trade deadline, I mean, he's right, but instead of addressing anything about it, he immediately goes, we just need to win more games. Look over here. We need to win more games. He's not going to talk about the trade deadline. He was talking with Goody. He didn't want to talk about what decisions were being made upstairs. I was game planning for Detroit. I don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about it. They just don't. There is a chart that you look at certain things and you say, this is the trade value chart. This is what we're giving up versus what we're getting in return. And they look at that chart. It is gospel. We will not go above and beyond. This is not what we do. We are the Packers. We are champions. We've won many games. We've been in NFC championship games. We've done many things correctly. We are the franchise many would kill to be. And they're right. They're right. But every day, as Matt LaFleur then goes on to say, is a new day. You concentrate on winning the day. You win one game at a time. You win one day at a time. You put yourself in the best possible position to be successful. Take a little bit of your own advice. You went from being 100% correct to dead-on hypocrisy in a matter of a fart. Excuse me, the wind have changed. Oh, by the way, we got to be in the best position to be successful. We got to do everything we can to win football games. We got to take it one game at a time. We can't rest on what we've done in the past. Oh, really? Okay. Well, there you have it. So I just thought you might enjoy that. And I feel for Matt LaFleur. I really do. He is in a tough spot. He's got to answer for Gutekunst and what didn't happen. All the while taking a boatload of criticism from guys like me and fans like you. And things are spiraling. They've lost games they shouldn't. He does the halftime Q&A on Sunday night, appears to be emotional. We'll call it that. And for whatever reason, people are questioning his leadership. People are questioning his play calling ability. People are questioning his choice at defensive coordinator. All of that has now come into play. When things are great, you are on top of the world. Winning is the ultimate deodorant. Nothing stinks. Everything's wonderful until you lose. And then they've lost in the playoffs. And it was, hey, you're 13 wins. You're doing great. Keep it up. Nice job. What an incredible start to your coaching career. You are a guru. You are a genius. You have massaged all the egos of those in the front office as well as the quarterback. Everything is coming up roses, and then you're hit with adversity. You're a better coach when you face the adversity and overcome it versus when you take over a program that gives you lemonade versus the lemons. And Rick, you're right. The quote, coach speak gets very tiresome when you are losing, and obvious problems to all. Again, I go back to very much a praise of the Packers fan base to say you're unbelievably intelligent. Praise to all for recognizing the problems, and shame on the glossing over as if to say, well, we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about this, that type of thing. When you're talking to a fan base who knows what the hell they're talking about and they can see it. (877) 867-1670, 877-867-1670. You want to hit us up, feel free. Phone line's wide open. I'd like to get your reaction to all of this before we get out of here. The next couple of segments are yours and yours alone. Love to hear from you. Give us a shout. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Smoke on the Water. That's out there on Okauchee Lake. Big Packers party coming up this weekend. Watch party going on. So get out there, and everybody on your way out. Smoke on the Water. You stop off at a church. You do a couple of novenas, light a couple of candles, say a few prayers, and maybe, just maybe, the Green Bay Packers get a win, and we can all celebrate, and everybody's joyous and rejoicing and imbibing out at Smoke on the Water, or Sloppy Joe's for that matter. Two great places, two great Wisconsin bars. One on the water in Okauchee, one an old-fashioned Wisconsin bar in Hubertus. Either place cannot go wrong. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show. Your comments next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Wisconsin isn't snobby, snooty, or pretentious. It's Midwestern charm at its finest. And that's exactly what Forgotten Fire Winery in Peshtigo is all about. Fun in a bottle without the attitude. You can find their full wine and cider lineup in their tasting room or in liquor and grocery stores throughout the state. The winery is a great place to get away for wine and cider tastings, great live music, and private events all year long. Remember, any time is a great time for Forgotten Fire wines and ciders. Wisconsin wine made from Wisconsin people.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Bill Michaels Show. We continue on. Hey, our friends at Boondocks Barbecue Burgers and Brews in Stone Bank, Wisconsin. Technically, it's in Oconomowoc. County Road K is where you can find them. A lot of good stuff coming up over there. As a matter of fact, they have a big Sunday Fun Day, $1 off the tappers and such as the Packers game kicks off at noon. And they've got some music out there as well. $2 off appetizers. Plenty of good stuff going on. They've got a Thanksgiving catering menu if you want your Thanksgiving dinner catered. And they've got on November 7th, the wine dinner coming up. November 7th, and the Tipsy Painting Party during the Widows Weekend here later in November as well. So check out Boondocks Barbecue and Brew over there, or More Than Just BBQ over on Facebook. You can follow everything right there. I want to get your reaction to what Matt LaFleur had to say. This one's from Cassidy. Cassidy says, what I hear is a coach that is just searching for words and scrambling for anything at this point. Cassidy, that's probably the best summation, out of anything. I can get all technical. We can talk about numerous things like shotgun versus non-shotgun, defensive play, and go on and on and on, and players that will and won't play. But that's probably the most succinct comment today. You're probably right. I think at this point in time, Matt LaFleur this is the first time as a head coach he's been faced with this type of adversity. And right now they are spiraling down a bad rabbit hole with what we'd all consider to be a subpar team on the horizon that actually can put up points. And you don't have the ability. You're 18.1 points per game right now. You don't have the ability to come out and reel off a bunch of points like the Lions do, quite frankly. So I think it's a very real possibility that you could be in more than a heap of trouble. The Detroit Lions averaged 24.7 points per game. The Green Bay Packers, 18.1. That's 26th in the National Football League, by the way, my friends. 26. Detroit, I think they're top 10. Ninth. They're ninth in the National Football League. 24.47 points per game, averaging 258 yards through the air. And they're averaging 136 yards on the ground. Packers are averaging 217 yards through the air. Think about that. I mean, like the Bears are only averaging 126 yards through the air with Justin Fields. But close to 200 yards, 188 yards per game rushing. Packers 122 and 217. 122 and 217. And the Packers, that still puts them near a little bit lower than the middle of the pack, but they're behind the Las Vegas Raiders when it comes to total yards. They move the football. They just have so many things that have kind of hindered them. Now, if you cut down on the turnover, if you cut down on the penalties, yeah, you know what? There's probably some viability there. But man. And then defensively speaking, yards per game, Packers aren't bad in yards per game. Overall, they're ninth. Ninth in yards per game. They're second in passing yards per game, defensively speaking. Second. They are 29th in rush yards per game, giving up 141.3 yards per game. And when it comes to giving up points, they're giving up 21.6 points per game. That's where them and the Detroit Lions different, because the Lions are giving up 32.1 points per game. I mean, the Lions defensively are atrocious. They're terrible. So maybe you can get the offense right. But think of this. And Ben, let me ask you this. Let's say the Packers win this game 21-17. How successful do you really think that is?
Well, the bar is quite low. So in the grand scheme of what we've seen, quite successful because they won. But in terms of what we can be confident about, I would say not really successful at all.
I agree.
You got to get 28-30 at least against this team. Else,
right.
I mean, you're in a tough spot.
You got a team giving up 32 points a game, and you can't put up more, say, than 21. And the Packers have not scored consistently above 20 points all season long. It's a win. You can certainly go put a check in the check mark in the column, but and I'm just giving kind of, best and worst case scenarios, but this is a team that you should offensively and normally go in and just dominate, just blow out and get it over with. They have the ability to put points up, but just get it over with. And I don't see this team doing that. I see this team struggling big time. 877-867-1670. This one's from David, who said, we did find out Samori Toure can get open in the scramble drill. Yeah, that we did. Brandon says, just give Rodgers the weekend off and let Jordan Love play. That's not going to happen. I mean, can I ask you a question? Why? I get the old adage of it, you can't get any worse. Well, yeah, you can. But is there a reason why? You're not paying Rodgers $50 million to watch Jordan Love play, to see if Jordan Love is the future of the team or not. You know? Phil says, how's Packer Nation going to take losing to a team with a worse record than the Green Bay Packers? I guess we're going to find out on Sunday. It could possibly happen. You know, I thought it was bad when they went and lost in London. Okay. And I thought, okay, going to the pond, and, you know, New York is a decent football team. They're on the ascend. Okay. You know, all right. And you come back, and then I thought, you know, you got to beat the Jets, right? You got to beat the Jets. You're at home. You get the, you know, and again, going back to talking to some of the people inside the walls at 1265, and you get the quote of, boy, if we lose today, the wheels are coming off. And then they lose, and they get their ass kicked doing it. That's, I mean, it wasn't about a loss or a tight game or anything. You got your ass handed to you. You got outmanned. And then I just like, wow. And all I kept thinking was, guys inside the walls, wheels are going to start coming off. Wheels are going to start coming off. And then there's the Washington Commanders. That's the get right team, right? That's the get right team. Let's put the train back on the tracks. You can get a couple of wins, beat Washington, beat Detroit, get ahead of steam going in to face Mike McCarthy. You're good to go. And then they lose again. Because you knew you were going to probably lose the Bills, right? And you go out and you run the ball, you discovered a few things, but ultimately, guys not in the right place at the right time, some penalties that should or shouldn't have been called, and you're right back where you started. You're back with yet another loss. And now you're really reeling. So if you lose to Detroit, you're right. I can't imagine what it's going to be like on Sunday after the game during the Green and Gold postgame show. What that would be like. I just, man. Tom says, so much hatred towards Rodgers. Jordan Love isn't the answer or the solution, people. I agree. Look, Jordan Love did a couple of things in preseason to make you go, oh, okay. But there's not much in the years that he's been here. There's not much of that. He looked a little better, but not, dramatically better. And the hatred for Rodgers is more of an anger, I think, than hatred. I think people love what Rodgers has done for the franchise. But I think people, the pedestal, and again, anytime you seemingly perception becomes reality. Anytime you put yourself perceptually above the franchise, fans, right or wrong, fans will dislike you. This is as we kind of cliche make the beer and brats crowd versus the two fingers of scotch crowd. It's you're not one of us. You're not one of us. And then when you put yourself on a pedestal, you're wishy-washy. You don't know if you want to come back. You may not. You start losing players. You want certain things. You make demands. He opened a lot of eyes. He did a lot of great things. But all in all, people just know you're making $50 million and you're losing. And that's what people know. Final segment of the Bill Michaels Show. It's coming up next.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, in Green Bay, here's Mike Clemens.
The Packers not able to complete any trade deals, but they were in talks for Steelers receiver Chase Claypool, who's headed to the Bears. Green Bay releasing 2 players, outside linebacker Kobe Jones and running back Patrick Taylor. Matt LaFleur asked if there's any dissension among some of the defensive players regarding the game plan during this 4-game losing streak.
We'd be foolish not to listen to our players at certain times. And then ultimately we have to make the best decision for a football team in terms of how do you go about winning the game. And there were some great moments, and then there were some not so great moments.
Aaron Rodgers on the McAfee Show talked about a bad call on Robert Tonyan for offensive pass interference after losing to the Bills.
We still haven't played a complete game. We're still looking for that after 8 weeks. It's disappointing, but it's the way it goes. We've had a lot of injuries, which hasn't helped us. I thought there was, a call that definitely went against us in the game on the Tonyan touchdown. Mm-hmm. My thing was they're hand fighting for one. Like, if you want to call OPI, then you have to call a corresponding hold.
And Bills linebacker Von Miller discussed with former defensive back Richard Sherman on the Bleacher Report what he asked Aaron Rodgers during the game Sunday night.
When I was asking him, hey, why y'all not passing the ball, man? Not only with Aaron Rodgers, but Russell Wilson and
No. I'll tell you what Aaron said. I ain't got nobody to throw it to. I don't trust none of them. I wish I could throw it to myself. That's what he said to you. I don't trust these boys. They couldn't catch a cold in a snowstorm in Alaska. That's what he said.
That's Richard Sherman. In Green Bay, I'm Mike Clemens on the Bill Michaels Show.
Program, good to have you. We continue on. Final segment before we get out of here. Reminder, coming up tonight, we are going to be the Mecca Sports Bar and Grill tonight. 6 to 8 is the Bill Michaels Huddle, brought to you by our friends at Bud Light. And we're going to be down there this evening as the Bucks are going to be playing inside the Fiserv. And that begins tonight at 7. So come on down, pregame with us. Head on over to the Fiserv, catch some undefeated hoops, and kind of go from there. Ben, who is it tomorrow? You and who else?
Grant Bills, myself and Grant, in for you. Yeah,
tomorrow.
big day.
Yeah, tomorrow is a weird day because tomorrow I'm going to be I'm doing a tour, and I did this a few years ago, but we're doing the tour of the La Crosse Quick Trip City, where basically La Crosse is built. I'm not La Crosse, but where Quick Trip is built, and it's just a huge complex, and we're doing some stuff out there tomorrow, so I'm going to be off tomorrow. I'm back at it on Friday. But
you got to call in with a live report.
Last time I took a picture that ended up going viral. They put you in a in one of those hats, the hairnet things.
Yeah,
when you're walking around the bakery and such, they put you in the hairnet and the glasses and gloves and a big white coat like you're going in to do surgery. And so got that. I'll take that picture tomorrow if I can.
All right, I'll write it down.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, 12:35.
Text
call
me.
in.
Let
with
me
a
know. Yeah,
detailed
give me a
report.
buzz. Yeah.
Cheers.
I'll see if I can't wave some of that, some of those, that glazer smell towards you. When you walk into a Quick Trip and you smell the bakery. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. So I'm going to be doing that tomorrow. So you and Grant Bills tomorrow. I'll be back on Friday. One thing we forgot to do today?
Power rankings.
So
Yeah.
That's
okay.
We'll do them on Friday. Can't believe I forgot to do the power rank. Got so caught up in what was going on or not going on inside the walls of 1265 that it kind of got away from us. So yeah, we gotta correct that.
I thought you were going to go a different route. There still is some big backlash to Dustin Johnson trading Taylor Gooch to the Niblets for Peter Uihlein, trying to gear up for a back-to-back quest for the 4 aces. A lot of discussion because some are saying it's a similar situation with Rodgers, where, he needs his buddies around, can't really play with the young guys, needs some seasoned vets in there, even though Uihlein's been trash for 10 years. So some people are drawing comparisons.
Yeah.
I'm not, but some are.
Okay. We can discuss. No problem.
Grant usually gives me 2.5 minutes per show.
I was going to
towards
say
the end of an hour.
Yeah.
Just to ramble about golf, and then we hit the top of the hour, and I'm forced to stop.
And tonight you got game 3?
Game 4 fills up 2-1.
Okay. Game 4. Yeah, you're right. Game 4 tonight of the World Series coming up this evening after that 7-0 bombing that the Phillies gave the Astros. The best shot of the night for me was watching Jose Altuve sit at the top of the dugout stairs, spitting sunflower seeds, looking depressed. That was the best shot of the night.
That was a good one.
There was something that just innately made me go, although it doesn't matter because Houston's still in the World Series. You got Nola against Javier tonight. Javier goes to the hill for the Astros. Nola goes to the hill for the Phils this evening. So there you have it. The underdog, the wild card, up 2-1. That could have been the Brewers. Just yet another reminder why those games in April and May mean so damn much. Don't pee them away.
Not to be this guy, but Grant and I actually talked about this.
Yeah.
That pitch Harper went deep on.
Yeah.
Like Yelich is rolling over that to second base.
Oh, I completely agree. Yeah. Any play that's made in the outfield to throw to the infield is, a ground ball from the outfielder to the infielder regarding Yelich in the arm. I completely agree with that. Yeah, we're not there yet to hot stove talk, but hot stove talk this year is going to be an interesting look at where the Brewers are at. I mean, I say it every year that this is a very pivotal year, but this year really is. What direction are you going? Because you know what you got coming up on the horizon monetarily. So what direction are you going to go? So we'll a lot of hot stove talk yet to go. Bucks basketball, obviously, haven't talked a lot of Bucks, but they're only 6 games into the season. The Bucks are crushing it right now, playing really good. And this is without Chris Middleton. They don't even have him in the lineup yet. So we're waiting to see, what he can do when he comes back. Kyrie's still an idiot. Nothing's changed since yesterday and the day before.
He scored 4 points last night.
There you go. And again, would not go to the podium. They don't want him to talk because they're afraid of what's going to fall out of his head. And I was very kind by saying that, by the way. Coming up tonight, we're going to be live down at the Mecca Sports Bar and Grill in the Deer District. Come on down. We're brought to you by Bud Light. It's the Bill Michaels Huddle. 6 to 8 tonight, 7 o'clock Bucks basketball. Come on down, check that out. Even if you're not going to the game, they have it on all the big screens inside the Mecca. And then I'll be in lacrosse tomorrow, back here on Friday. So we got a lot of moving around to do, but that's okay. That's what we do. So until we talk again tonight, 6 o'clock Central,